Okay, so this one goes here. This one goes. Hey, what's up, Lizzie? How's it going? What's Is it the? Are you guys reading the same book for the book club? In terms of like the feminist book club, is that the deal? It's like the same book. You guys are reading like chapter after chapter. Um, I don't know. It's okay. It sounds super interesting. We had an extremely interesting discussion at the book club about virtue ethics. Um, no, it's okay, Savvy. Um, I don't know. We're reading Rosalind Hurstouse's On Virtue Ethics for, I guess, for those of you who are like just joining. It's a great opportunity if you want to get into ethics. We had like really interesting discussions about both like, okay, what sort during like what circumstances is it okay to be living in like a self-deceiving state? Like when is it okay to like basically lie to yourself? Is there ever a circumstance? And it seems like there are like definitely some circumstances where it's like totally fine to adopt false beliefs as like a form of cope, but there's people whose lives are going well aren't going to do that. Um, but yeah. Hey, if you're in that guest request box, make sure that you're 18 or older and make sure that you do think that there's something wrong with being gay. And with that, we'll go to the very first guest. Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Doing well. How old are you?
35.
Yep. Do you think there's something wrong with being gay?
Well, I think there's something yeah, I mean, I do think there's something wrong with being gay, but I think I would go at it a little bit of a different way. I just think it's totally inconsistent, the whole like trans thing.
Oh, I'm just
Um,
talking about the gay thing. Do you think like what's wrong with being gay?
oh, so, well, well, I would say, like, I guess here's my question. If you want to drop me, that's fine. Like, if trans women are,
Wait,
women,
sorry. You said that there is something wrong with being gay. I think that this is like a totally
well,
disconnected issue from like the trans issue. I guess like what's wrong with being gay?
oh, well, I thought this would be like queer, right? So queer
N-
is gay.
no, it doesn't say that, right? The title says
Okay,
there is nothing wrong with being
okay,
gay. And I mean,
that's
you
fine.
even said yourself that you do think that there's something wrong with it.
Yeah.
What do you think that is?
Well, I would just say it goes against God,
Oh, okay. Which one?
Christian God.
Okay. I mean, why would I take the ethics seriously of a book that says that you can own slaves?
Well, what's the context of all that?
Yeah, God gives a law. God frees the Israelites from slavery, but instead of taking that opportunity to reflect on like the nature of empathy about how they just endured this harsh suffering and that now they're in like a privileged position to know that, this is wrong, this is a horrible thing to do to people. Instead of like using that, God's like, okay, you got freed from slavery, now you can be the slave masters. And then he says,
Well, I
go
think
forth and you can own slaves.
yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if you want to get on the slavery topic with the prompt, but I mean, if I were to answer it like quickly, let's just say let's say the Schmatzis had lived for like thousands of years doing like all the horrendous things,
Hmm.
okay? And then a country like the United States of America like went in, right? And what would they like, how would we handle this situation? Would we just like slaughter all of them because they're so corrupt and evil? Or would we try to, if you want to call it slavery, but if you want to try to bring people under your supervision and try to help them unlearn all of the horrendous evils that they did under your supervision. And if they started to act out, yes, you would punish them. But the idea would be that you would try to rehabilitate them under your close watch so that in a couple of generations, they could be normal functioning society of people. And I think that that would be something similar to what was happening in the Old Testament with that slavery.
Hmm.
It wasn't like a permanent solution to a problem. It was that these people were so corrupt and so vile and so evil, instead of slaughtering all of them, and many were, but to take some and try to rehabilitate them. And you do that under your close eye. And that seems like a very brutal, maybe thing to do. But if the idea is to try to change them after generations of so much evil, maybe you have to use a more strict tactic. I think
Yeah,
that's probably how I would just give a quick answer to the question.
yeah, these things aren't even like remotely similar. First of all, I mean, it's not clear to me that what's happening in the situation that you laid out is that you're owning people as property as opposed to like something equivalent to like, I don't know, what is it? Like the one officer when you like let the people in jail out, like the probation officer. Like it's not even clear to me that that's like it seems more like a probation officer than it seems like a slave owner. But additionally, the explanation that you gave can't possibly be the reason why God did it, because God says in Exodus 21:7, when a man sells his daughter as a slave, she shall not go out as the male slaves do. If the purpose of the slavery was rehabilitative, then it makes no sense that Israelites are allowed to sell their own daughters into slavery. I mean, you should just be able to raise them better. I guess, like, do you think the daughters of the Israelites needed to be rehabilitated, and that's why they got sold into slavery?
Well, what was the, like, what were the daughters doing?
It doesn't
Would
give
be
any
my question.
stipulations. It just says you can sell your daughter into slavery.
Okay, I'd have to look at that specific passage, okay, and I'm not familiar with that. But I know it also talks about in Exodus, like no, like man stealing would bring about, like death. And so, like the transatlantic slave trade for sure would have been anti-biblical in every sense of the word, because that is literally man stealing. So I think when we're talking about this slavery, we need to understand and look like these are not like wonderful situations that we're talking about, but it's when there's extreme situations that are happening. How do we, like, we have jail? I mean, is that slavery? I mean, it kind
No,
of is
it shouldn't
in a
be.
sense. I mean, you are confining them. You're giving them certain meals that they can eat at certain times, and if they act out, they can be put in confinement, like even solitary confinement. I mean, and I think that would be like a, but the goal would be a rehabilitation, and it'd be similar in a sense to what is being advocated for. And I'd have to look specifically of what you're referring to with the Israelite daughters, but that would be how I would interpret what's going on, because the idea isn't to have these people forever under your thumb. The idea is to, they are so corrupt, we need to rehabilitate them, and just to allow them to just like run free, they're probably just going to go back to what they were doing before, which was like horrendous evil. That's how I would, like, in a quick way, try to like square it, because again, man stealing is condemned. You're condemned for doing that. So whatever was happening in the transatlantic slave trade was like a totally unchristian act, even if Christians were doing that. And
Un-
that's why it took other
mhm,
Christians like William Wilberforce and Abraham Lincoln to like undo a lot of that.
mhm.
So yeah, I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, that's like extremely false. So the verse that you're referring to is whoever kidnaps a person, whether that person has been sold or is still in possession, shall be put to death. The problem is that the way that you cash out kidnapping, in order to avoid saying that like kidnapping includes like, I don't know, when you take your child to the dentist office and they don't want to go to the dentist office, in order to avoid saying that that's kidnapping, kidnapping specifically is defined as when you're doing this to like, an adult who has rights. These people that weren't adults. They did, or sorry, these people didn't have rights. They weren't granted the right to be free from kidnapping if you're from the nation around them. And I mean, if that's correct, there are like other ways to get into slavery other than kidnapping, like the one that I read earlier that said that you could sell your daughter into slavery. That wouldn't be kidnapping, but it's in the exact same passage, and you could have slavery that way. In fact, that actually makes your earlier argument about rehabilitation like a total non-starter, because by this logic, if you took it to the natural conclusion, the only people in slavery would be the daughters of the Israelites sold into slavery. So the only people getting rehabilitated are the people who were born in Israel to Israelites. Like
Well,
surely something's gone like very wrong there. In terms of like your next argument that jail is slavery, it's not. You're not owned as property, and if you are owned as property, then I think something has gone very, very wrong. That would be like a horribly unjust system if by going to jail you become a slave. And then you make this argument, you point out like, oh well, it's not forever, except tragically it is forever. It says in Leviticus 25:44 through 46 that these people, the slaves that you own, are to be passed down I'll just read the verse. As for the male and female slaves whom you may have, it is from the nations around you that you may acquire male and female slaves. You may also acquire them from among the aliens residing with you and from their families who are with you who have been born in your land. They may be your property. You may keep them as a possession for your child after you, for them to inherit as property. That's the relevant portion. Just that these are slaves for life. You can literally give them as an inheritance to your children. They're not meant to be like
Yeah.
rehabilitated.
So a couple things. We'll start with your one point on the Exodus. So what I'm reading here is Exodus 21:16. Whoever steals a man and sells him, and anyone found in possession of him shall be put to death. And so to me, my understanding of that would be, again, going about stealing a person, making him your possession, like the transatlantic slave trade, that would all be wrong. That would be not something at all that God would condone. And then if, go to your last point that you made, sorry, I'm forgetting it. What did you say? Oh yeah. So yeah, I would say for probably that one individual that was taken on as a slave, maybe for their life they were going to be a slave. But we see as the Jewish history continues throughout the Old Testament, it's not like the Jews are always in possession of the slaves that they took from the beginning. So clearly there was a break between, okay, this isn't meaning like you enslave these group of people throughout all of time. It clearly ended at some point. And why would it
Where?
end?
When?
Well, when Jesus was around, did Jews have a bunch of
Yes.
Babylonian
Well,
slaves?
they have a bunch of slaves.
What were the
Like there's
original
all
Babylonian
the time
slaves?
throughout the New Testament,
Well,
there are
Rome had
discussions about like
slaves.
slaves.
Yeah, Rome had slaves, but I would be curious if the Jews at the time of Jesus, like the Sanhedrin, all that, if they had slaves. I don't know the answer to that. I could be
So do you
wrong.
think that would it be okay if they had slaves, but just not like Babylonian slaves? Would that be fine?
Well, I would just say, what is the context of all this? If these are people that are like warring, like I said, like
You don't think slavery is absolutely wrong? You think sometimes
I,
it's
I think
fine?
I think slavery oftentimes is absolutely wrong,
But
no
do you think
question
it's like
about it.
always wrong or
I don't. I think in the context, like I said, dude, if you and I and the entire United States of America were to go to Schmatzy, Germany, and they
I
for
wouldn't want to
two
enslave the
thousand years,
Nazis. I think
well,
it's
I would
kind of
just say
weird that you do.
I would just say then if they are doing nothing but trying to do world domination and to like wipe everybody off the face of the earth, the answer would be to like drop a bomb and just destroy all of them, or to try to rehabilitate them. And if they've got thousands of years of just trying to just slaughter everybody, you might have to keep a close eye on them.
But
And if that means
what
that you need to like,
justifies
keep
the
them
selling the
as your,
daughters into slavery? You keep
well,
on
I'd have to
avoiding
look,
that point.
well, dude, I'd have to look that up.
Okay, but
Fine looking that up.
as things stand, you have no response to the fact that it says you can sell your daughter into slavery.
Well, well,
So then,
as it
as
stands,
things
this it's
stand,
yeah, but
the
I've tried
Bible
to.
has absurd ethics, unless you have like a
Okay,
rebuttal to that.
well, dude, I've tried to answer. I think like five different things. I mean,
Yeah,
I think if you're hanging on
it's like
throughout the
slavery.
entire
Yeah, I think
Bible,
slavery is bad. Yeah.
so what would you do in that instance? Honestly, like
If I
if you were
came
to
into
try to,
Nazi Germany,
yeah, and they had thousands of years. Like like
I
literally, what
think,
would you do?
yeah, I think the
Like,
Nuremberg trials make sense. You hold the people
okay,
responsible who are responsible, and then,
right,
for the rest of them, you could give maybe some punishment. But, you know,
okay,
ultimately, I don't think that you should be like eradicating the people group. I certainly don't think they should be like your slaves.
okay. And there's thousands of generations and you're going to take over that land and the people are like still like
Wait,
trying to
what?
slaughter you even after you
Wait, what?
like,
Why are you taking over their land?
well, I'm just saying if you're going to try to change that place and make it a better place to live, like you think they're just going to be like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, like our bad, like you know let's just adopt all of your Christian Western ethics and like life will be good. I mean, I don't think that would be a realistic thing that would actually happen if you have the thousands of years of them just like unaliving homosexuals and handicapped people and like Jews. Like they're
Wait,
just going
but
to like, oh,
you
you're
don't have any
right.
problem with them killing gay people? Like, what would be your problem with that? It literally says to do that in Leviticus.
Well, that was for a specific time.
But was it absolutely morally correct to do it during that time period to like kill gay people?
Okay. Um, So let me just tell you what the situation was. That
Yeah.
is, so Israel was a small group of people. It was at its very early inception, okay? And God was trying to preserve the people and knew that if homosexuality ran rampant throughout the entire Israeli people, the entire population would just die off. It would die off completely. So the same way that
Sure.
he
So
would
to prevent the population from dying off, they
from
needed to
dying
kill a
off
bunch of them.
completely,
Yeah. They needed to stone them
well,
to death to prevent them from dying off. Is that correct?
well, the just the idea is that all sin, not just homosexuality, all of it ultimately is deserving of death. All of
Oh,
it,
that's not true.
all of it.
You don't
Yeah,
believe
all of it.
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
ultimately, the wages of sin is death. We all will one day die
Oh, that's like
because of our
obviously
sin.
false. I don't even know why you would
Well,
say that. I'll give you a scenario.
that's the biblical. That's the biblical like
Yeah.
explanation for it.
Yeah, let me give you a scenario. So, okay, let's say that, uh, let's say I have sex with my girlfriend. It's premarital, it's unrepentant, and then there's like a person who like rapes 20 people but repents for it. Who did a worse thing there?
Um, well, obviously, the person who raped 20 people,
Oh, sure, but I mean, who's going to get punished worse?
the person who rapes 20 people. What do you mean?
Really? Even though he repents, you don't think that
Oh,
repentance?
I didn't hear the repent
Yeah, yeah,
part.
yeah. He repents.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the repent part.
Yeah.
Um, in the well, they're still gonna be put to trial, and they're gonna,
Mhm. They like
be
truly,
stuck
genuinely
in jail.
repented.
Yeah, and the consequences, earthly consequences, they would go to jail, and the guy who had premarital sex
No, I'm
wouldn't go to
asking about the
jail.
eternal
Oh, the
consequences.
eternal
Yeah,
the
from
eternal
God's
consequence.
perspective, like which one's worse?
Well, if you're
The
giving like,
premarital sex with my girlfriend that's consensual or like raping 20 people, but you repent for what you did
well,
afterwards?
let me give you like the full context. So what God did was he treated Jesus as if he committed those 20 rapes, and he executed him on the cross. So there was death for it. It was just transferred from the person to Jesus. I mean, that's
Mhm.
like the Christian. So there was still death that happened, but instead of going to the individual who did the crime, it was put onto Jesus. So death did happen. Death did
Mhm.
happen. It just went to
Yeah.
Jesus instead of the person.
Yeah, but
So
which
death
which of
still takes
those
place.
which of those acts is worse though, in terms
The
of like the
the
punishment that gets afforded to each?
well, the 20 grapes for sure,
Yeah, so
because
okay, that punishment's deserving of death, and then premarital sex is also deserving of death.
well,
So it
all the
seems like they just
sins
get
are.
punished equally, right? It
Well,
seems like the punishment for rape is equivalent to the punishment of like consensual premarital sex.
not in the severity of the punishment.
Is it like more? Is it like super death? Like,
Well, the idea in scriptures is that there's certainly going to be a day of judgment, and for the person, you know for Schmittler, it's going to be much worse for him than it would be for the guy
yeah.
who had premarital sex.
And what
So
what
there would be
punishment
a
is
degree
each
to
gonna?
it.
What yeah? What punishment is each gonna get?
Eternal damnation.
So they get the same punishment.
Well, to the degree of the justice would be is still going to be stronger for that person. The times it'd be like if you were in jail and one person's in solitary confinement and one person gets to walk amongst the people. You're both in jail for the rest of your life, but the solitary confinement's a much worse punishment.
Yeah, but
So,
what if the rapist repents, but the premarital sex person doesn't? Like, who gets the worst punishment then?
again, Jesus gets the full punishment on the
Yeah,
cross.
I'm speaking of like the rapist or like the person that does premarital sex. Like, who gets the worst punishment if the rapist repents?
Well, if the rapist repents, the full punishment is still goes on Jesus, but that person can be forgiven of their sin, just like the person can be forgiven of the sin who did the premarital sex. Like the punishment's still going to be doled out. It's just whether it's going to come out on me or whether it's going to come out
I'm
on
asking I'm
Jesus.
asking about like the punishment you experience.
Well, the punishment I could experience if I grape people could still be that I go to jail.
I'm asking about the eternal punishment. I don't
Well,
know
the
why this is
eternal
a you keep on trying to find like ways out of this. The question's
No,
like
it's
very
not a way out of
simple.
it. Well, I think you're skipping over that there's no punishment or that the punishment isn't incredibly severe.
The rapist
Like,
doesn't experience the eternal punishment, do they?
correct, Jesus
Sure.
does.
So then the rapist gets no punishment in the afterlife, whereas the person who did premarital sex consensually goes to hell.
Well, if you're going to give this like
Is that
really narrow
correct?
thing, yes, yes, it's
Is that
correct.
just?
Yes, because the punishment went on Jesus. That's the point. Like, and it
Oh,
isn't that the person
did
doesn't get
Jesus have to
punishment.
experience the like eternal damnation?
Well, he experienced the wrath of God that was in for him. It was just as that than an eternal punishment would be.
Okay, wait. I'm maybe I'm a bit confused. Does he experience the eternal damnation or does he not?
He experiences the exact same form of justice in
So he
order for
burns in hell
justice to be
forever?
served.
Because that
Well,
was the punishment, is like burning in hell forever. Does Jesus do
it's
that?
look, this is a good question. I'm trying to answer it as best I can without
Yeah.
wiggling out. Like, it's a fair question, and people have like grappled with it. Like, why doesn't Jesus actually go to hell for all eternity? But
Yeah.
the and that's a great question. But what's said in Scripture is that the full weight of punishment fell on Jesus at the cross. Okay, and so why is that not eternal? Well, I don't really know why that's not eternal, but there must have been something that Jesus received that was equal to an eternal punishment for the sin that he was, punished for. Sorry, that's not the most articulate way of putting it.
But doesn't he just
But,
get like the exact same punishment as like the two people next to him?
well, in terms of an physical earthly sense, yes, but he was also separated from the Father when he says, God, why have you forsaken me? He is being forsaken by the Father. The thieves on the cross were not forsaken. I mean, the one might have been because he might have died and gone to hell, but he didn't receive and that's the worst part of the what Christ did. It isn't the physical pain and the emotional pain was horrendous, but it was the spiritual separation which made it the worst.
What does it mean to say that God forsake him?
Well, God turned his back on him, and
What does
God
that
basically
mean?
well,
That's
God,
I'm asking for
God.
like a non-metaphorical description.
Okay, sure. I would say he treated him um, as if he were a sinner,
Okay. Did
and
Jesus deserve the punishment that the Father gave him?
he didn't deserve it. No.
Okay, would you agree that giving a punishment that a person doesn't deserve is unjust?
Well, I would say but if the judge is, in a sense, let me just think about how I want to answer this. Jesus, in a sense, let me just backtrack a second. So, because Jesus became sin, that's what it says. He became sin who knew no sin, so that we might become the righteousness of Christ. So, because Jesus became sin in that embodiment, he took on what was deserved to be punished for.
I don't think that really answers the question. The question was just, do you think that somebody receiving an undeserved punishment is unjust? Do you think like a just punishment needs to be deserved?
Well, I would just say it was mercy. Like,
Wh-
there's such a thing as mercy.
But mercy seems to trade off with justice. You know, if justice is people getting what they deserve, and then
Well, yeah,
mercy
that's
is
fair.
like kind of withholding from that, it seems like what
It,
happened, it seems like God gave out an unjust punishment because it wasn't deserved.
well, I'm trying to think. I mean, I'm trying to think about how to put it. It's a good question, so I just want to think about it.
That's okay.
Um, he he became sin, and so God poured out His wrath on him. Was it unfair to Jesus? Yes, in a sense, but he accepted it anyway.
Did you just say
And it's
Jesus became sin?
yeah, it says he became sin who knew no sin. That's what the scriptures teach. Yeah,
What?
he
How could
became
that be?
sin.
But
Well,
sin is
that's what.
bad, right?
Yeah, correct,
Okay, so
correct.
Jesus is
He
all
became it.
good, but is also bad?
Well, he became our sin. Yeah, he became sin.
So he was both all good, but also not all good?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sorry. I hope you don't think that I'm being uncharitable. I'm
No,
trying to
no, no, you're not.
understand.
You're not. No, you're not. You're not. You're not being uncharitable. Um, Look, he was still God, so he was still good, but he did become sin. And in that moment he became a curse. But he was still good. And how do I like reconcile that? I don't really know.
Okay.
I don't really know.
I'm not too sure either, but if you ever figure out, I would love to hear how you reconcile that. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about? Otherwise,
Yeah.
I'll move on to the
Yeah. I
next
mean,
one.
yeah, Jesus rose from the dead, and so therefore, if he says the sexual ethic is one man, one woman, if he rose from the dead, I think that's better than what any one of us would say.
Does
That
Jesus
that
ever say
that's a thing.
that?
Yeah, because Jesus is the author of the entire Bible.
Okay, but it kind of seems like the Father was the one who came down in Leviticus.
What
I
do you
thought
mean
that
came
was the
down?
lore.
Well, Yahweh is the God of the Old Testament. Yahweh is the Trinity,
What?
and so Jesus,
Yahweh is
Jesus
the
is part.
Trinity?
Yeah,
I thought
but
Yahweh was just the
Yahweh.
Father.
No, no, Yahweh is the Trinity. That's the Father, Son, and you. You could look that up. I mean, that's not a
Uh,
controversial thing.
that's
Yeah,
that totally
Yahweh is
could
the
be the
Trinity.
case. I
Yeah,
could be mistaken about that. I could have sworn that
yeah.
Yahweh
No,
was the
it's the
Father.
it's the Trinity. No, that's okay. Yeah, it's the Trinity, and so therefore, it's it's Jesus as well.
Yahweh.
Like my whole thing is whatever any of us say or think, it could be right, unless somebody who like rose from the dead, the way that it was written about in Jesus says it's differently. I would just say that person would be God, and therefore I would just trust it, even if it feels wrong. That's how I would answer the question.
Okay. Is there good evidence to think that Jesus rose from the dead?
I would say so. Yeah.
Like what?
Uh, I would say that his followers believed that they saw the risen Christ, and to go to your death would be extremely unlikely.
Sure. I guess like why would I think that what they died for was the idea that they saw the risen Christ?
Well, I mean, most like secular historians would even say that they believed that they saw the risen Christ. They were convinced that they saw the risen Christ. And so
Like
therefore, you
which
have to be
secular
somewhat
historians?
like Bart Ehrman's one of them,
Bart
um,
Ehrman doesn't claim that.
that they believed that they saw the risen Christ.
I don't. In what book does he
Yeah.
claim that? Because I know Bart Ehrman doesn't think that the Gospels are written by I'm
Well,
sorry,
they
Mark,
weren't. They
Matthew, Luke, and
weren't.
John.
Well, I'm a Christian, and I don't even, and we would say
Oh,
like
sure.
nobody really knows who wrote them. But you could like look this up. I would say there's like four things that most all historians believe, like a universal consensus. It'd be that Jesus was real, he was crucified, and then there's about a 75% consensus on the empty tomb. And then the last one would be that his followers believed, or at least were convinced, that they saw the risen Christ. And that's like
Is there like a
near
book that you're
consensus.
citing, or?
Well, that would just be, um, I mean, you can look that up.
Yeah, okay, I'll look this up. So Bart Ehrman,
Yeah.
um, Jesus followers believed they saw the risen Christ.
Yeah. Now, it doesn't mean that he's saying they did. Bart Ehrman would say it was like a bereavement hallucination.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, sure.
like people would say that they thought they like Jesus was like his followers thought that were hallucinating to think that they saw Jesus. But I think that that is personally less likely to hallucinate for like 40 days
Mm,
and then just like go around and then like go to your death.
sure. So, in the early 2000s, there was a Hindu priest named Shanti Kali who saw the Hindu deities, and then there was a group of Christians that confronted him on it and held him at gunpoint and said, either you say that all of this is false and convert to Christianity, or we're going to execute you. And he said, execute me. I know what's true. I know what I saw. Do you think that Shanti Kali died for a lie?
No, but I think
Do
that's
you think he
one
maybe
person.
hallucinated?
Well, I would say you've got many people versus just one. I think it's more suspicious when you have one person that, because one person could literally say anything. when you have multiple people all saying this and then all going out for their death, I would just say that increases it more than
But
just one person.
according to what source from the time would I think that they were even claiming it?
In the Gospels.
Okay.
That's the
And
source.
but why would I think that the Gospels have any, like, whoever wrote the Gospels had any sort of connection to them?
Well, it would have been written a couple of decades later, and they
Mhm.
would have been, I think some say that they were eyewitnesses, but it could have been like information that was passed down in a short period of time.
But why would I think that it is?
Well, here's the thing, like, again, secular scholars would say that like they don't believe in the miracles of the gospels, right? But they would still think that there are true facts in there, like the places, the people. It'd be like if I were to write today a story about Donald Trump. I'm like, he had 5 children. His wife was Melania. His third wife was Melania, and he also walked on water. And like people 1,000 years of reading it, they're like, well, the walking on water thing we don't really believe, but he did have 5 children, and his third wife was Melania. Like that's what they do. They look at it and they say, like, well, we don't believe the miracle stuff, but we think there's a lot of history in here that is reliable. One of them being that his followers were convinced that they saw the risen Christ. And that's what like a unanimous consensus of secular scholars would even say.
What argument did they put forward to support that conclusion?
It would have been from the reliability of the Gospels.
But they don't think the Gospels are reliable.
The miracle parts they don't think are, but the other, like they think James was like the brother of Jesus.
I
They
think it's
think that like,
contested which of the disciples even existed.
well, people don't. I think Peter is somebody that people would say is not contested. Like Peter, James, John, and then there's another John. There's a son of Zebedee or something like that, are not contested. But others are. But they parse through all of these things, and some they throw out, and some things they keep because they think it's. But you have to like, you have to really like look at it with that kind of like lens that they're looking at it with. And
Yeah,
they would still
I
say
guess I
that
have no idea, right? Like I get like the appeal to authority that like secular scholars believe this, but I'm not really sure what the evidence is that's presented to believe this.
that which part that they believe they saw the risen Christ. That part.
Yeah, like I don't know why I would believe that the followers thought that they saw the risen Christ.
Well, again, I would just say, not to repeat myself, and look, authorities are sometimes wrong on things. Like I get that, but I've looked into this, and they would say that those parts of the Gospels that were written are reliable about them believing that they saw the risen Christ. It doesn't
But
mean that they
you
did
looked into
see
this?
it.
Like you've looked into like secular scholarship on the topic?
Yeah, Bart Ehrman's one of them.
Yeah,
And
and
I
which
could
book does he
look
claim
up
this?
others.
I can pull up the PDF for the book. Like what book does he claim this in?
Yeah, give me a second.
You should already know it if you've already read it.
Yeah, dude, I don't know it off the top of my head. Can I not look
That's
up
fine,
the book?
but
Does it
okay,
change
wait.
anything?
That's well, okay, because
Does it change anything though?
it could be the case that you just lied when you said that you've, I don't know, like read the work quite deeply or like engaged with the work quite
I didn't say
deeply.
quite deeply. I didn't say quite deeply.
I thought you just
That's
said
the word you
that.
used. No,
Okay.
I didn't
I'm
say
pretty
quite
sure that you
deeply.
just said that you've like really looked into it or something.
I said I've looked into it.
Okay.
That's what I said. Yeah, but why would you be upset if I don't have it like right off the top of my head?
Because I think that
Like
if
if
you
it's
can't even name
true,
like the work that this comes from, it's not clear to me like the depth that you've actually looked into it.
okay, so if it took me like 10
Oh,
seconds to find it,
wait, someone's saying that you
would
claimed
that
that
be okay?
you said extensively.
Yeah. Okay, so there are multiple secular scholars that believe this consensus. Like you
Like
don't have
who?
to believe it, and you can be
Wait,
upset about it.
like who? So we got Bart Ehrman, you said multiple, who else? You haven't looked into this at all, have you?
Nope, I don't remember their names.
Okay. That doesn't feel very extensive.
It doesn't make it not true, dude. I don't know their names. I know the Christians. Mike Lycona is one of them. Gary Habermas is another one. Dale Allison. But you're not going to take those people
Well, I'll take their
as
arguments. Do they have good
scholars.
arguments?
I
I don't
just
really
gave you
care how
all
many
their
scholars
arguments.
you muster. You know,
Well,
like
why do you not care about how many scholars I muster?
Because
Like
what I
I could
care
give you
about
Christian
is their
scholars.
arguments. So this to me would be like, okay, so there's this website where they publish academic philosophy papers. Basically, every academic philosophy paper that's published is on this website. It's titled Phil Papers. They did a survey. In 2020, they surveyed like 1,000 philosophers and got their opinion. And the majority opinion, 70% majority opinion of among philosophers is that God doesn't exist. Do you think that I'd be justified in appealing to just this survey and then concluding that the Bible is false? Or do you think like the actual arguments that they make would be relevant?
No, I think the actual arguments would be
Yeah.
relevant.
Likewise. Yeah, I'm like interested in the arguments that the Christian
Okay.
scholars put forward.
Okay, so E.P. Sanders, he's an agnostic. He taught at Oxford and Duke. He's one of the most influential historical scholars on Jesus.
That's fine. I
He
just want to
said
know what his
there-
argument is.
He maintained that disciples' post-death experience of Jesus are an undeniable historical fact, even if the science cannot define exactly what caused them.
What
And then here's
argument?
his quote, that
Yeah.
Jesus' followers and later Paul had resurrected experiences, in my judgment, is a fact. What the reality was that gave rise to the experiences, I don't know. His key work, The Historical Figure of Jesus in 1993, Jesus in Judaism, 1985.
Maybe the
Bart
question that I'm
Ehrman.
asking, maybe the question I'm asking is unclear. When I ask for the argument, I'm not asking you to read me the section where they say, yep, that's my opinion. I'm asking for like the support they give for the conclusion. Like the reasoning that leads them to the conclusion is the part that I'm interested in.
Yeah, and like I said, they think that the gospel accounts are
That's the
can be-
conclusion.
they're historically relied upon.
That's the conclusion. I'm asking what's the argument?
Because the names of the people and the places of where they were written about are historical places that are verified in other sources, and so therefore they would say that this is reliable.
That's true of like
That's
so
one of their
much so much
answers.
mythology though. Like for example, all the mythology related to like Zeus and Mount Olympus, the fact that Mount Olympus is a real place is no evidence for the existence of Zeus.
Well,
Or like the
Zeus is a
reliability of like
spirit.
those mythologies.
Yeah, but that's totally different. That's apples and oranges, because
Why?
Zeus is a spiritual being, and Jesus was a historical person who walked the earth. That's
I
not even close.
I totally agree, but your argument is that this work is reliable because it cites like historical places and real historical people.
Okay, right, but that's
That's the
different
same
than
thing
a
with, like,
spiritual
Zeus.
No, but Zeus wasn't a man who walked the earth.
So if I find like a Greek myth that involves like a man who walked the earth, like a real historically like supported man who walked the earth, would you take that to be like good evidence for the reliability of like Greek mythology?
It depends on what, but Greek mythology is about like Zeus and Apollo. These are spiritual people that didn't physically manifest, correct? Which
Yeah.
is different than Jesus literally walking the earth and saying things and interacting with his disciples.
Oh
Those
wait,
are
Troy.
different
Wait, so
things.
okay, so Troy is a real city. Does that mean that I'd be, and additionally, like the Trojan War is a real thing? Does that mean that I'd be like justified in believing that like all
The
the shit
Trojan
in
War.
like what was it before the Odyssey? It was
Iliad?
yeah, the Iliad. Would I be justified in believing that like the Iliad is like historically reliable?
Well, so you're saying the Trojan War, as it was written in the Odyssey, happened, or is that is
No,
the
it's
book
like a
of the
real
Odyssey-
event.
Okay, so but is the Odyssey written as a fiction book, or is it supposed to be a historical book? And the Iliad, I'm sorry, was that written as a fiction book or a historical book? Because the people who were writing the Gospels were not writing it as fiction. They were writing it as these were real historical things that happened. The Iliad would probably, Homer, whoever wrote it, it was known to be written as a fiction novel. So
I
these
don't
are, again,
think they-
separate things.
I don't think that they had that clear of a distinction between these two things within ancient Greece. I think that their understanding of like mythology versus like real history, like they don't have anything even approximating the standards that we would have, which is why so much of the job of a historian is to sift through, you know, this person claims this, that person claims that, but like, you know, you should probably be like skeptical of like the more out there claims.
Yeah, and I've not said that the secular scholars would say that Jesus rose from the dead, but we're like hung up on this thing about his followers believing that they saw the risen Christ still.
I'm
And
not
if like,
convinced by the argument that just because a work cites like real historical people or real historical um, locations, that that would be an indication that it's not still mythology.
okay, I mean, you'd be in like the extreme minority then.
I don't think that there's anything close to a consensus that Jesus's followers believed this. I know you
Oh, there
cited
is.
like the
Yeah.
person or like the two people, but like what's the source that says that it's like a consensus? I bet I could easily with one Google search find scholars that don't agree with that.
Well, you could find some, but that, like, go ahead and do that research
Well, yeah,
if you want.
I know that there's like the mythicists, and I don't think that the mythicists are correct, but they certainly exist.
And they're fringe. I mean, those are
But
fringe
you said your
positions,
claim was that it's a consensus.
right? They're still fringe. Like, there's
Okay,
people that think the earth is flat. That's a
so
fringe
it's a
position.
consensus except for the people that disagree. I mean, I don't know any flat earthers in academia. Um, I bet like a lot of these people on the mythicist Wikipedia page would probably have like tenured positions.
Well, tenured positions specifically talking about how Jesus never existed? I don't think
Yeah.
so. Where would that be?
Um, I could find some. Oh yeah, so we got this Robert Price guy who's a New Testament scholar. Um, we got this Richard Carrier person. Let's see if either of these guys have like a university. Um,
So just so you know, dude, and again, I'm putting this in AI, but I'm asking, is it a consensus or not that his followers believe they saw the risen Christ? It's saying yes, it's an absolute consensus. When you look at modern peer-reviewed historical scholarship, the fact that the disciples sincerely believe they saw the risen Christ is one of the most bedrock, universally acclaimed facts of the ancient world.
wait, sorry, wait. What did you into what AI and what exactly did you type?
I said, is the
Which AI?
um, a Gemini?
Gemini. Okay. Oh, sure. So just like the Google search.
Yeah, put it in, do it
Okay. So
yourself.
yep. What's the phrase?
So say, is it a consensus or not that Jesus' followers believe they saw the risen Christ?
Believe they saw the risen Christ. I think this is great because we're going to be able to look at the sources. But when I pull up the sources on the side, I see reddit.com and thegospelcoalition.org.
Okay.
So is there like a
Well,
real
don't.
source here or?
Well, you put it into Google, put it into Gemini. I mean, the sources that I have right now are Evidence Unseen, the articles that John
Well,
something.
okay, how about I put it into like consensus AI, which just pulls like peer-reviewed papers.
Okay. What's it say?
I'm still waiting for it. One sec, let me. Yeah, normally it's like way quicker than this. One sec, let me I don't know, maybe like ChatGPT.
Sure. I mean, Bart Ehrman says, we can say with complete certainty that some of his disciples at some point later insisted that he appeared to them. It is an
Oh,
undisputed
well,
historical
sure. I don't know if
fact.
I disagree that like some of his followers do. I thought the claim was that like they all did. It could be true, but then you fall into the Chanticleer problem, which is why would I think that more people, I don't know, like how many people are you proposing knew that he existed as like a matter of consent, or sorry, not just knew that he existed, but believed that he resurrected as like a matter of consensus?
Say that again.
How many people do you think, as a matter of consensus, died with the belief that Jesus rose from the dead?
How many people have no clue?
Okay.
No clue. Probably
Well,
many.
I would
Probably,
just need some sort of like consensus that it's like, I guess like at
well, it's
that
gonna
point,
be
I don't know why
prob-
I would think that it's more than like a handful. And at that point, I mean, I'm not sure why I would take this as better evidence than like Chanticleer.
I don't know what Chanticleer is, but
It's like he's like the Hindu priest from earlier.
oh yeah, that's right. Okay. Um, well, it's saying that um, there's a core group of individuals over 500, and then it says the core leadership, the 11 or the 12. You have women followers who are Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, Joanna, Salome, skeptics like James. Then you've got Paul. So I mean, right there, even
But
if you
Paul's
took
not an
out,
eyewitness. Who cares what Paul has to say?
well, that would be debated.
Okay, I don't grant that Paul is an eyewitness. You'd
Well,
need to demonstrate that.
okay, well then,
I mean, Paul's story is like literally self-contradictory, you know, but the people are simultaneous like standing and laying down when Jesus comes down and revealed himself, you know. They were knocked to the ground. They were laying on the ground stunned listening to Christ, but also, you know, they stood silent. It's
can I
somehow
ask one
both at the
question?
same time.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah, go
Let's
for it.
just say hypothetically, like this, and I'm not trying to say it, but let's say this consensus is true. Okay, could be wrong, but let's just say it's true that his followers believe they saw there was in Christ. Let's say there was 10 of them. Okay, hypothetically, what would be your explanation for what they saw? That would
I
be my
don't care about
question.
a consensus. I care about arguments and evidence.
Okay.
If presumably the way that you arrive at the consensus is through the arguments and evidence, so if there is a consensus, then the arguments and evidence should be readily available.
And I told you it's the reliability of the Gospels.
What's the argument that the Gospels are reliable?
What do you mean? What
The
I mentioned
justification for the claim you
before
just made.
that there are places that are written about outside of biblical works that
Okay,
have been verified are real. So therefore, like the names that are written in the Bible, that we can feel confident about that those are real because because it's written in other sources.
yeah, sure, but then you know the same thing applies to like ancient Greek mythology.
But you didn't really demonstrate that.
So, one sec. Let me verify this. I wonder if we can. Oh yeah. Apparently, the Midas touch story is based on a real ruler who lived in the 700s. Do we have evidence that there was like a dude that could turn things into gold by touching them based on the fact that the myth cites like real locations and involves like a real person?
I'd have to look exactly into who made the claim. Were these people like known for lying about stuff? Like, I mean, you would just go through like you would with the Gospels
Hmm.
and figure out like, is this legitimate or not? And
Yeah,
you'd
exactly.
go through it.
But surely that can't be enough to cite that it's reliable. The way that we arrive at the conclusion that it's a reliable source can't possibly be it uses the names of real people and real locations, because you would not accept King Midas as being like a real historical figure. Or sorry, not a real historical figure, as like being like a real mythological figure. Like you wouldn't take that as evidence that the story is true.
Yeah, I would just go through like anybody would and try to understand who are all the people that are making the claim. Were they real? Were they not? Are there multiple sources? Was it just one person telling one story at one time, like your Hindu guy? Or was it like multiple accounts? Do we have like a
But
bunch of writings about it?
you don't think that the disciples wrote the gospels?
Correct. I don't think they wrote the
Sure. So then I'm
Gospels.
not sure how that would help you. If you went
Well,
through
you're
and like looked at like who the authors of these stories were,
okay. Then people that knew the people who made the claims, and they wrote them
like who?
a couple decades later, and then well, we don't know who wrote the Gospels, but I'm saying I
But
would
who
go
are the
through it the
people
same
that
way.
saw the? Who are the people that knew the gospel authors?
It would have been the disciples.
The disciples knew the gospel authors. What's the evidence?
Dude, I mean, I could put that in, but like, if you want me to put that in, I can
I don't want like
figure that
AI.
out.
I just want like evidence. I mean, if you're figuring
Yeah,
out the
dude.
evidence in real time,
It's yeah, but
something's
these
gone
things are
awry.
something has gone awry, dude. If you're still fighting against this consensus, to me, that's what
I
it's
don't
that
care
that's what's
about a
gone awry.
consensus. Maybe appeals
Well,
to
then that's
authority are
fringe.
persuasive to you.
Then that's
Wait,
fringe.
sorry. Maybe appeals to authority are persuasive to you, but I'm persuaded
They
by arguments
are
and evidence. Sure. Wait.
okay.
Okay. But then, what would you make of the Phil Papers consensus that God doesn't exist, believed by 70% of philosophers?
The Phil papers that 70% of philosophers.
Yeah,
What? Well, that
70% of
okay. So then that'd
philosophers don't
be
believe in God. Is that
so that would
evidence against
be
God?
so that'd be 30% that do, which is still a
Yeah.
much higher percentage than
Yeah.
whatever percentage is
But
saying
do you
that
think the
followers
massive
didn't believe they
disparity
saw the
there?
risen Christ.
Do you think the massive disparity there is evidence against God's existence? Because
Well,
I
30%.
surely don't.
Well, 30% is actually somewhat high.
This is like gigacope, dude. If
Well,
I just
yeah,
told
but
you that 70% of
Gigacope would be if it was like
philosophers,
1%, but 30% versus like some fringe
do you
guys
think it's like
that
any
you can
evidence
like
at all?
Google.
Is it any
But
evidence at
like,
all?
there's going to be a couple guys that you can like Google that are going to say that his followers didn't believe they saw the risen Christ. But this is like such a tiny amount of people versus 30%. So these are apple to apples comparisons. So that would be like a gigacope for you to not believe
So
that.
I looked into it. I looked at this. I found the specific number. So you're actually looking at 18% think that accept or lean towards theism. You're looking at that versus like 66%. Like, how low would the percentage need to be for you to?
Well, like you, I'd want to hear all the arguments. I mean,
Oh,
wouldn't that
but
what you would
wait,
want?
but that's not correct, right? You don't want to hear. You don't have arguments for the consensus for the Bible case. Right, you arrived at my
I
position, which
gave
is that
you, I
what's the
gave
evidence
you,
then? I'll ask you
I,
the same question that led to this. What's the evidence that the authors of the Gospels
I would
knew
say that,
eyewitnesses?
well, we're jumping around to that, but what I want to go back to is again that what they believe that they saw the risen Christ. And that, like I've said for like the millionth time at this point, there are historical events that happened that are written that can be attested to outside of biblical works, that people say that these are legitimate events and these are legitimate people and these are legitimate places. And so therefore we can be confident to say that these were events that took place, like that they believe they saw the risen Christ. And then they've accepted that. You're saying, I'm going to stand in this fringe position of like, well, no, it's not true. Or
Well,
I need more evidence.
yeah, the fringe position of, I think that you should argue by giving evidence for the
Yeah,
things that you believe.
and I
The
gave you
fringe
the
position
evidence.
that
Yeah,
no, you
I gave
didn't.
you the
The evidence
evidence.
is an appeal to authority. I just want
I
if
told you
this
it's
authority is as
people
reliable. Sure, wait, what's the evidence?
that these were people that were written about,
So is Midas. So is King
that were
Midas.
real.
So is King Midas.
Yeah, but this isn't a miracle claim that's being stated.
Jesus isn't a miracle. Jesus rising from the dead isn't a miracle claim.
I never said that. I said that they believed that they saw the risen Christ. That's not a
Oh, sure.
miracle
Well, then these
claim.
people just believed they saw Midas.
Well, then maybe they did. Maybe they
Okay.
did.
Holy
But they
shit,
were
dude! You just
but they
argued
were
yourself into King Midas.
what are you talking about?
You just said
Someone
maybe they
someone
did
could be
believe they saw
deluded.
King
Well,
Midas.
someone could be deluded. Well, wait, hang on. Is Jesus not? You don't think Jesus was a real person?
No, I think Jesus was a real person.
Okay, was King Midas a real person?
Seems to be.
So well, then what are you upset about with me saying that
I don't think they were
they
like
believe
real
that they saw
people
King
that really
Midas?
believed, having lived with King Midas, that he could turn things into gold by touching them. I don't think that there's any sort of people like that.
that believed that they saw it, that it was all a made up story?
Yeah, I don't think.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, that might be
yes.
true. That might be true. I'd have to look up exactly what they said and how many people said it, and are there multiple sources like I'm doing with the Gospels?
But who are the?
It's the
You don't
same
even know
thing.
who wrote the
We
Gospels.
don't know, correct? We
How am
don't
I
know
supposed
who
to
wrote the
evaluate the
Gospel.
goodness or like the reliability of the Gospels when I don't
So
even know
what?
who wrote them?
So all secular scholars have been able to overcome that, but you can't?
I don't care about your appeal to authority. Either provide the
Yeah,
evidence
well,
or don't. I think the
yeah,
appeal to authority is a bad argument. If you
yeah.
have evidence or an argument that you'd like to
Do you have
present, I'm
do you
very
have
open to that. But
so do you believe the authority that Socrates was real and Julius Caesar was real?
yeah,
Do you have
because
why?
I've personally dug
What are
through
the
the
names?
sources
What
related.
are the sources
Yeah,
names?
Aristotle, Aristophanes, Plato. What you got like Hegesias
I
of
didn't.
Cyrene.
No, I
What
said
I got
Socrates.
four.
Okay,
Yeah,
Julius
who claim
Caesar. Julius
I don't know who
Caesar.
claims that Julius Caesar is real.
So what
But
did you
certainly
said?
nobody
You had
is
the
claiming that he has like
sources.
miracles. Wait, sorry, did you
Well,
get
I
like
didn't
folded on
mention.
the Socrates one? Like
Well, I you said that you have sources for.
I feel
I
very
gave you.
strong about
I gave you.
Socrates' existence
Okay, I get
because
and I
I've
gave
looked into
you.
this one
I gave you
specifically.
Julius Caesar and I gave you Alexander. Name the sources.
You want the sources for Alexander the Great?
Well, why don't you
Um,
have them right off the top of your head?
for example, I would imagine Aristotle writes about Alexander the
Not,
Great.
no, not Aristotle. I'm asking about
Aristotle's the teacher of
specifically.
Alexander the Great. I don't know if you knew that.
Okay, so what's the source?
Aristotle?
Yeah, what's the name of the work?
We can look it up if you'd like.
Well, why don't you have that right offhand?
I'm not sure. I don't hold you to
Oh,
this
well, you were
standard.
upset with me
Wait,
that not
no, I
having stuff
didn't.
all
It's
right
because you refused
offhand.
to provide the evidence. I'm happy to look up the evidence about all of these claims for you.
I
That's
said
not
the
the
same
standard
thing
that
as
I hold you
well.
to.
Dude, you were like jumped
Do
on
you
me
think
like,
that
why
that's,
are you,
whoa,
dude,
was
you
I
jumped
jumping
on
on
me.
you or
Yeah,
did you
you
feel
did.
jumped on?
Yeah, you did. Well, you said, well, why don't you have right offhand the work of Bart Ehrman?
Well, I mean, you
That's what
lied
you
about
said.
the level that you've looked into this. You can't
Yeah,
even name another secular scholar.
yes, I did. I named
Who?
them earlier.
The one you had to AI?
E.P. Sanders.
The
Yeah,
one that you
E.P.
had to
Sanders.
look up on AI?
The one that you're about to look up to give me who the Aristotle work was. The same thing, dude. Like, if you're going to
Yeah.
do this
Well, I'm
with
not gonna look
me,
that
you
up on
should be able to
AI, to be
allow it to
clear.
be done. Okay, well, then what are you going
Also,
to look it up
so
on?
wait,
You're going to go
okay.
to the
I know
library?
that you're having like a little cry fit right now. This is not the
Dude, you
standard
were
that I'm
crying
holding you to.
earlier. You were
Wait, you
crying
sound
earlier.
super upset, which is why all you can say is no you, no you, no you. It's because of how
Well,
like
that's
under
because
your skin I
you.
am. I'm sorry if this conversation has offended you. I'm sorry if your lack of evidence has upset you, or if like you feel yourself relying on appeals to
Yeah, okay.
authority and you
If you're going to
realize
be
that they're
like
not very good
insulting
arguments.
because I put the same
You're
onus on
literally
you,
crying. I've never
I
tried
put
to
the
hold
same
that
onus
standard on
on
you.
you.
I
I
have
put the
never
same
applied
onus
that standard
on
to you. I would
you.
never say that you need to know literally everything about everything. That's ridiculous.
You were jumping on me for not knowing the Bart Ehrman book, and then I'm doing the
Yeah,
same
you're
thing to
more than
you,
well
and now
because
you're
you made the claim
crying.
that you've looked into it extensively. I've never made the claim that I've looked into the historicity of
Yeah, and I
Alexander the
didn't
Great
have
extensively.
exactly, and I didn't have the Bart
You've looked
Ehrman
into it
work.
so extensively that you can't even name more secular scholars without the help of
I
AI.
told you. I told you who it is. I
Yeah,
gave you
you
the
had to AI
names.
it. You had to look into it with AI. You haven't looked into it extensively. That's the
Yes,
difference.
okay.
If you've
I
looked into it
guess
extensively, you'd be able to name like people on both sides.
nothing about my argument has been wrong, and you're just fighting against it because you don't like
The
it.
appeal to
Like,
authority is a fallacy.
yeah.
Yeah, wait, what's the
And yeah,
inference there?
and they feel to authority of the overwhelming consensus that Alexander the Great was a real person, and that Julius Caesar
You
was a
should
real
just be
person
able to give the
is
argument.
an argument to authority that you hold yourself to as well, that you're
You
upset that I'm
should
holding
just be able
myself
to
to.
give the argument,
I
especially
gave
for a
the argument.
supernatural claim of that sort. You're just
I've
going to need
given
to give the
I've
argument.
given zero supernatural claims at this point. That's why you're not tracking.
The claim
All I've
that the
said is
conclusion
that
here is that Jesus rose from the dead. That's
yeah,
obviously supernatural. The
and
supporting evidence there is that
you're
people
hung up
believed
on
it.
something that is what is stated as a rock bed of historical fact, and you're still
Another
like hung
appeal
up
to
on that.
authority. You still
So
think
I
this is a good
can't.
argument.
Yeah, but you think that it's a good argument that the consensus would say that Alexander the Great was a real person. You can't name any sources
Zero
either, or
supernatural
Julius.
claims about Alexander the Great,
And
by the way.
and I have not made any kind of supernatural claims about the resurrection. All I'm just trying
Sure.
to
Wait. Let's
get
say
you to
I grant that the
believe,
followers
dude.
believed
Can I?
it. Why would it follow from the fact that the followers
That's
believed it that
all.
they didn't hallucinate like you think Shanti Kali hallucinated?
Because, like I mentioned before, you have multiple people saying it
Yeah,
versus
sure. And
one. So
what
it's
do
an
we have more
apples to
evidence of?
oranges
Shanti Kali in
comparison.
the year 2000, or like the disciples dying for this?
Well,
Which one do we have more evidence for?
uh, in
You
terms of
shouldn't even have to think
works,
about
the
this. You
amount of
shouldn't. You
works.
shouldn't even have to think about this.
Well, I mean, the amount of
It's like
works,
genuinely like so revealing about your psychological state that you don't know what we
dude.
have more
I
evidence
thought
for.
I
The
thought you
event
meant
that
it was
happened
written down.
2,000
Okay,
years ago, or the
fine,
event that happened like 20
dude.
years ago. You
I'm
don't know which one
sorry,
has more evidence for
dude.
it.
Relax, relax. I misunderstood what
Oh
you
shit,
said.
dude. He's like projecting his
I
upsetness onto
just
me.
relax, dude. Yes, we have more evidence for today
Yeah.
of the Shanti Kali.
Yeah.
Correct, we do.
Yeah. By
I
like orders of
misunderstood what you
magnitude,
said.
right?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
misunderstood what you
sure.
said, but it's still a dumb argument because it's one person saying it versus
Mhm.
multiple people saying it.
One
That's why it's an
extremely
apples to
well
apples
substantiated
comparison.
person saying it versus
Well, it's
you know,
substantiated. Why is it
maybe one, maybe
substantiated?
two, maybe three. Also, okay, so I looked
I
into
gave you
the
the list of
yeah,
people. It
yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
one or two or three.
So I
Like
looked into the
you're
consensus. The consensus, apparently the consensus is only of Peter and Paul. These are the only two people that there is a consensus on. You lied.
what are you talking about?
The
Consensus of
only
what?
consensus that exists related to like the scholars is there seems to be a consensus that Peter went to his grave believing that Christ had risen, and Paul went to his grave believing that
And
Christ
there's
has risen.
also the two Jameses as well, dude.
Oh,
They're
source
they're what's your source?
for
You
which
give me your
one?
source first.
Oh
What you
shit!
just said.
Oh, Spawn killed. Oh boy, that's kind of embarrassing. Do you
You
want to give
just
me a
get you
source
know,
for the
no no no
claim?
no
I can
no.
give you. No,
Slow
no, no, no,
down.
no. This
Slow
that's
down.
the sound of this guy
Give me
like
the
short
source.
circuiting.
No,
Wait,
give me the
sorry. Oh
source.
shit, dude, you got Spawn killed.
What are
That's
you
so
talking
embarrassing
about?
that you got killed by the question source, and then you did the thing that you always do when you're feeling insecure that we've established. You went
What?
no you, no you, no you. That's what you do when you feel
You,
cornered and insecure. You say
dude,
no
calm.
you.
Okay, are you
Which
done?
is
Are
yeah,
you done?
I'm feeling like ferocious
Okay.
right now, dude. I'm
Yeah.
like a predator, you know,
Yeah.
with like the
Okay.
prey
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
sight.
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
good. Okay.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, what's
So
the
you
source for the
asked.
claim that you
So
just made, or do you want to like
so
do another no you because you're feeling cornered?
so you gave me a
Another no
you made the
you.
claim. You made the
I have this
claim.
dude on lock, dude. I
You
literally
get
have your strategy
yeah.
mapped out in front of
Gotcha.
you, and he's still gonna try to
Gotcha.
do
You
it.
made the claim
No
that it
you,
was
no
only
you, no
Peter
you,
and Paul.
no
You made
you,
that
no
claim.
you.
Then I made a claim, and you asked me for my source, and then I would, in only fairness, ask you for your source.
Wow,
You
no
understand
you.
that's how that
Wow,
works.
no you. Yeah.
So you get to make
Wow,
random
no
claims,
you.
but any claim I make, I have to back up with a
That was
source.
so compelling, dude. You know the way you said no you just now, that was so compelling.
Obviously, you're upset, and I don't know why. You make a claim,
What's there to
and
be
then
upset
you
about?
don't give a source. I make a claim, and you make me get a
What's
source, and then you
what's the
like
claim
freak
that you want
out,
like
and
the
you talk
source
about how you're a
on?
predator.
Wait, sorry, what's the like chomping you in my jaws. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, so what's the
yeah,
claim that you want
sure.
the source from? Or have I slammed you so hard that you have a concussion you don't even remember the question at this point?
Yeah. Why are you being like insulting? I
Oh
don't
gosh, now
understand
he's
that.
even more insecure.
No, I'm wondering
Now all
honestly,
he
like
can do is
why?
like cry bully.
Why? It's not cry bully, dude. I'm
You're
asking
trying to
why.
cry
Why are
bully.
you being insulting?
Whoa, I mean, you got like really aggressive earlier, but then when somebody shows you that same aggression, you know, all you can do is say, "You're being mean."
Well, when someone is being unfair, then yeah, I'm going to push back.
What's
Look,
the
let
source?
me
What's
help
the
you.
claim
Let
that
me
you
help
want
you
the
with
source
the. Let me
for?
help you with the chronology. You jumped
Yeah,
on me for not having the Bart Ehrman quote
because you
ready to
lied
go,
about the
and
level that
then
you looked into
and
it.
then I jumped back
So
on
you already
you
made
for
a
not
mistake.
having any kind
Yep.
of source for Alexander the Great, and so then you started freaking out, and then you gave me a claim about Peter and Paul. And then I gave you a claim about the two Jameses. I asked for the source, and then you jumped on me without giving a source yourself. So, dude, all I'm doing is just coming back at you with the same standard that you're laying on me, and then you're like spurging out for no reason.
Yeah,
Like, this is not that hard to follow.
yeah.
If you want me to give sources and you're going to give little jabs along the way, then I'm going to want sources on your
Wow.
end as well.
Compelling, neutral. What a neutral telling of that. Yeah, here's the actual timeline. You lied. You told a big
When
fat
did I
lie to like
lie? When did I
1,000
lie?
people. You said that you have extensively looked into this
Yes,
topic
correct,
about
which I'm still right
the
about.
consensus of secular scholars. You've
Yes, and I'm
extensively
still
looked
correct
into it,
about.
but you
And I
can't name
don't know their
any
names.
secular scholar. Whoa, just calm down there. No need to be getting this upset.
Yeah, but
You've
if you're
looked
going to
into it.
accuse me of
Whoa, just
lying,
calm down
yeah, if
there.
you're going to accuse me
Whoa,
of
I don't know why you're
lying,
getting so upset.
why are you
Just
accusing me of
tamper
lying? Well,
down
I'm
on the
going to stop
meltdown.
you. I'm going to
Just,
stop you if you're going to be
wah, he's
lying.
having like a little fit. He's
Well,
throwing
if
a
you're
temper
going to lie
tantrum.
against me, yeah, I'm going
Oh,
to
I'm
stand up
sorry.
against it.
There. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah, and if
There,
you're going to be
there. It's gonna
patronizing, it's
be
not
okay.
okay.
It's really gonna be
Yeah,
okay. You
you're,
know, tears are a good look on you. You know, don't
dude,
let
what's
anyone
your
tell you
problem?
otherwise.
What's your problem, honestly?
A little zest in that last one.
No, honestly, what is your problem?
What's your
Like, why are you
problem?
doing this?
Why
No,
are you doing
seriously.
this?
Is this how you debate? You just
Yeah.
start to like mock people?
Oh gosh, he's back to cry bullying. He just said that I was spurging out, but now
Yeah,
he
you
wants to
are.
cry. He wants to bully, and then when someone's aggressive back with him, he wants to cry. As
Dude,
always.
I have not insulted you in
You
any
said that I
way.
was spurging out.
Yeah,
You
that
don't
you
think that's an
were.
insult?
That's what you were doing.
Wait, but is that an insult? Is it an
I don't.
insult to say that somebody's spurging out?
I guess if you're going to be upset about it, then
Wait,
you're
so that
going
was a
to
yes or no
identify it. So
question. Do you think that's an insult?
no, I don't think it
You
is.
don't think it's an insult to say that somebody's spurging out?
yeah, if you are
Just
continually
accept it. Just fucking
spurging
own it.
out,
Just own it and
no,
say,
I don't think it is.
yeah, I did
No,
say that, and it
nope.
is an insult. Fuck
You
you.
are
Yeah,
spurging out.
of course,
No,
it's
you
an
are spurging
insult.
out.
It's
You are spurging
obviously an
out,
insult. Are
and
you
you're still
kidding?
spurging
And
out.
that's why he keeps on saying it. If it
It's
wasn't
not
an
an
insult,
insult,
if it wasn't an insult, you wouldn't have said it 3 times in a row just now.
dude. It's not an insult.
You
That's why
try
I'm
to say
saying
it
it.
because you know that it's an
Dude, you're
insult.
trying to take like personal
Oh
shots.
boy.
I am calling out your debate tactics, which is you
Yeah.
spurging
And
out.
and
That's
what
a
does
much
spurging
different
out mean? What
thing.
does that mean?
Don't worry about it. Like,
Fucking
honestly, don't worry
spawn killed
about it.
again, dude. Maybe
Dude,
I
don't
am
worry about
spurging
it.
out the way that I'm
Yeah.
rhetorically fucking annihilating this dude, right? Like I'm hyper fixated on beating your fucking ass 12 ways to Sunday, you know, rhetorically demolished and all that.
What is the point of this, honestly? Like, what is the point of
To
this?
break down your confidence, frankly. And it's worked too, by the way that you keep
In
trying
what
to cry
way?
bully.
In what way?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
way
but
that you
dude,
keep on trying to
nothing
cry
is
bully. You want to be aggressive. You want to say
nothing.
you're spurging out, you're spurging out, you're spurging out.
You
Then when
are.
somebody comes and beats you the fuck down, you act
In what
shy and
way? How
submissive.
have you?
In
But
what
no, but
way?
how
How
have
have
you?
you? He says it
Yeah, but
so zestily too.
no, honestly, how
Buddy,
have
like
you?
the closet is glass, and frankly, I think you should be chewing on the shards.
What does that even mean?
It's okay. You wouldn't get it. I feel like the Joker, man. You wouldn't get it.
All of this happened because like you're just denying a consensus. Like that's all that's happening, and you're
Well, I
upset
looked into the
about it.
consensus.
And what
So I went
what
to
did it
yeah.
say?
So I went to the consensus AI, and then I looked at that, and then I said I'm gonna go look at ChatGPT. So I entered into ChatGPT, and ChatGPT
What did
says
it
that there's a
say?
consensus on Peter and Paul.
No, about who that the disciples believe they saw the risen Christ. You tried to put that in a long time ago. Is that the consensus?
For which one? That
Did
there's
the
a
followers
consensus
believe they
among.
saw the risen
Ooh,
Christ?
depends how loosely you're defining followers. Would you define Paul as like a follower of Christ?
Whoever you want, dude. You can name
Oh,
anybody you
well,
want. I don't
presumably
care.
people who like knew him while he was alive. So, no, I wouldn't say that there's a
Well,
consensus on
can you
disciples
read it?
plural, only on
Can you read it?
disciple singular.
Can you read it
Yeah,
then? Can you
yeah,
read what
yeah,
the consensus says?
yeah. Let me pull that
Did
up.
did his followers believe they saw the risen Christ? Is that a consensus? What
Followers
does it say?
plural?
Yes, followers plural.
No, it looks like only Peter did.
What's it say?
Yeah,
Read it.
got you.
No. Put the prompt in,
Yes,
not Peter.
yes. Some disciples believe they saw the risen Christ. Yes, broadly.
Ooh,
Peter
scholarly
believed that he saw
consensus.
the risen Christ. Yes, broadly. Paul
Scholarly
believed
consensus.
that he saw the risen Christ. Yes, broadly. Jesus actually rose. No, heavily disputed. So yeah, it's
Okay.
exactly what I said it said. He tried to soy out there just a little
No.
bit, but it was
What are you
just
talking
exactly what I said it
about?
was, which is that
So
only
so
Peter
some
of the
disciples
disciples.
believe they saw
Ooh,
the
disciples
risen
plural?
Christ.
I don't think I grant disciples plural.
Well, it says that claim. Read the top claim. What's it say? Some
Yeah, it looks like
disciples are
they're
an S at the
defining it in
end.
the sense that's going to include Paul. I wouldn't define it in the way that includes Paul.
Then put in the consensus of how many disciples are believed.
Well, looks
Put
like
that
only
in.
one.
Well, why don't you type it in?
Sure.
This is not that difficult to type in.
How many disciples
Believe they saw the risen Christ. And
is
what's
there a scholarly consensus on them seeing the risen Christ. There
I
is no
can't read
precise
'cause
number. I grant that you can't read.
well, your like little gay thing was in the way. So,
Mm.
are you a gay, by the way? Or you're a they them? I heard you were
Oh
they them.
yeah, you know,
I'm wondering what that means, by the
why
way.
are you
Oh, look, hang on.
curious?
Levels of
Why are
consensus.
you curious? You trying to
James,
fuck me?
James, at least some of the other collectively strong. Look at that
Strong but
consensus. Wow.
not a consensus.
Wow.
Strong but
Very,
not a
very
consensus.
strong, virtually unanimous,
Yes.
strong,
Yes,
strong.
yes,
There
yes,
you go.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
there's
So
believed to
there
be
is
a
a
consensus between
strong
these.
consensus. So there's a strong consensus that his disciples believe they saw the risen Christ, and you are going to still fight against that. Why?
No, I grant that there might be a consensus that Peter does, and even
And
maybe that James does, and
okay,
then I don't care what Paul has to say.
you don't care, right?
Oh, sure. I
Because
mean,
you're smarter
if you
than
want, you
yeah,
can get skewered by the contradiction.
yeah.
We're
Yeah,
Paul's followers
I'm
standing or
sure
laying
you're
down.
smarter. Yeah, I'm sure that you're
Let's get like the
smarter
easy spawn
than
kill,
all
Craig.
these other
Craig,
consensus.
just a quick answer.
Dude,
Do you think Paul's
let me make it very
followers? Oh,
clear.
he's never going to
You're
answer
in a
this question
very
because he knows he's going to get
fringe
fucking spawn
situation.
killed.
You're in a very
Oh
fringe
gosh, dude,
situation
I
where
wouldn't
you
want to answer
can't
that question
even
either.
believe
Yeah, that's a
that
great
his followers
rhetorical
believe they
strategy.
saw the
Pivot to
risen
grandstanding
Christ.
quickly, Craig. Grandstanding's
Yeah.
your only way out of this. You have to grandstand. Keep on doing that. Yeah, good
Okay.
strategy.
Okay.
Okay, were Paul's followers standing or laying down?
Dude, can you admit to me that his
He's
disciples
never
believe they
going to
saw the
answer
risen
that
Christ?
question.
Well, that was the original thing that I brought up, and
Ever
it's taking
going to
you
answer that
it's taking
question.
you an
He's
hour to
never going
finally
to answer
believe the
that
consensus.
question.
It's taking you an hour
He's
to
never gonna
finally
answer
believe the
it.
consensus.
Is the which
Congratulations.
one?
You believe what
I'll
the
just ask a yes or
overwhelming
no
consensus
question,
of
I
people
guess.
believe.
Do you think that his
Is
followers
it
were
yes
laying
or no?
down? Yes or no?
Oh man. This has been
I accept your surrender. I hear you're
pretty
about to
brutal
run.
for you. Pretty brutal for
I
you.
agree. It's been one of my most brutal performances, the way
Yeah,
that you
it
got
is
turned
brutal.
inside out.
Yeah, I mean, you finally, after an hour, said that his followers believe that they saw the risen Christ. Congratulations.
Which ones? Like,
It took
you mean like
you
the two of them, or
so long to get
you mean
there
like the
that
two
you
of them,
finally
or
got there. So
the
I
two?
guess you
The two
conceded.
followers?
So it's nice to know. I didn't think
Oh
it'd take
shit!
an
Are you about to
hour
run?
for
Are you about to
somebody.
sprint?
No, I didn't think it would take
Hey,
an
hey, pro
hour for
slave
someone
guy,
with
are you about
this
to sprint
just
away?
like
Pro slave
super
guy,
strong consensus.
pro slave guy, are
to
you about to
articulate that.
run? You're about to run away, pro slave guy?
What does that even mean?
You're pro slavery. You don't think slavery is absolutely morally wrong?
Yeah, this is
You're about to
yeah. I don't
cry
know.
bully more, like soy out a bit,
No,
perhaps?
I'm it for someone who's like
He's like
this
short-circuiting, dude.
intellectual. No, I
Holy
know.
shit.
I'm actually exhausted because
Yeah,
for someone who's like
exhausted
intellectual,
the way I've
who's
been
like a
blowing your
they
back out this
them,
entire
and
time.
a they them is never going to be intellectual. For
Oh
someone who
yeah,
is
of course.
supposedly a they them and an
I'm quite
intellectual,
intellectual. Here's my appeal to
would
authority.
finally say that the authority
Yes.
is correct and I'm wrong. So congratulations.
I don't care about appeals to authority, dude. Do you have the evidence,
Yeah.
or?
Yeah, and what's your evidence that Alexander was real, and what's your evidence that Julius Caesar? I want it right now. Just give it
Oh,
to me
sure.
right
And
now.
to be clear, have I
Right
asked you
now.
for things like
Nope.
right now, like you can't Google them?
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
Like
you
what?
did.
Wait,
You
what did
jumped
I
on
say
me.
you can't Google?
What's the Bart Ehrman source?
Sure,
How
but
do you
you
not
could have
have this
Googled
right
that.
now?
And you claimed that you had extensive knowledge on that.
Yeah,
You had
and you
extensive
claim
knowledge, and you can't
and you
even
claim
name.
that you have
Wait,
sources.
hey, Craig,
Yeah,
name.
you
Wait,
claim you have
Craig.
sources.
Quick question, Craig.
You
Craig,
claim that you have sources
you're
that
short-circuiting, Craig.
Julius
Quick question,
Caesar
quick
existed,
question,
and
Craig.
what is the source?
Craig,
Give
I
me
got
the
a quick
source that
question.
Julius Caesar
Craig,
existed.
Craig, I got a quick question for you. Name 2 Bart Ehrman books.
Give me the. I'll do that once you tell me the.
No
once
shot,
you
dude.
tell me the
No
source of Julius
shot.
Caesar.
That's
Tell
crazy.
me the. Tell me the
No
Julius Caesar source.
way.
Tell me the Julius Caesar source,
That
and then
can't
I'll
be
give that to you.
true. That
Tell me the
literally
Julius
can't be
Caesar source.
true.
Tell me the Julius Caesar source.
Yeah,
Right now.
on both counts, it's going to be Diogenes the historian.
So I said 2 sources.
Yeah.
So you have
Well,
none?
wait. You want? So okay, but you do grant that Diogenes the historian provides.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
Sure.
we'll do.
Whatever. Yeah.
We'll do Tacitus.
Let's look this up.
Does Tacitus ever mention Julius Caesar?
What?
Oh God, he does, doesn't he? You're gonna be so mad. Oh, brutal, dude. Oh no.
So when
Fucking shot in the
Roman
dark. Oh,
historian
he's
Tacitus
so
writes
mad.
a
He's
bit of
so
historical
mad. He's fucking
translation is
pissed, dude.
required.
He's furious. He's so mad.
Let's see here. Well, here, let me just figure out what it says.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Yes, you got it. Good job.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fine. You knew it. And that same Tacitus also talks about Jesus being real
Mhm.
and that Jesus was crucified, and you believe those things too,
Yeah,
correct?
I do.
Okay. But you don't believe the. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's right. You do believe that his disciples believe they saw the risen Christ. So at least I
Yeah.
got you there.
Yeah,
At
the
least I
two
got
of
you there.
them. Yeah, so why
At
would
least
it
I got
follow
you
from like
there.
the two of them? Why would I take the word of two of them more than like Chanticali?
Why don't you believe James?
Because there isn't the scholarly consensus, so it looks like it's more contested.
Well, it says it was strong. So what about it? What about it is
I'm
you
agnostic to it.
not believing it? But what specifically makes you agnostic to it?
The fact that I haven't been presented the evidence.
The fact that you haven't been presented the evidence.
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't you look into it and then say you're not convinced? Why would you just sit there and be like, "Well, I don't."
Well, what am
I'm
I
not
supposed to
convinced.
do before that? I'm
What do you mean?
agnostic because I haven't looked into it.
Okay. I guess if you haven't looked into
Like
it,
obviously. What?
okay. I guess you haven't looked into. Yeah. Well, you haven't looked into like any of this. I'm surprised you didn't even know that Peter and Paul were even listed. So
Well, I
that's
would grant
fine.
like Paul probably did. I just don't care what Paul has to say. He's
Well, it took,
unreliable.
yeah, I know, but it took like an hour for you just to say that you believe Peter said it. So I guess I
Yeah.
should have known that you didn't believe James. That was my bad.
Yep. Okay, sure. But why would I
Okay,
take
wow.
why would I take do you take Chanticali as being any evidence at all for Hinduism being true?
Um, of course not. No.
Oh, yeah, sure. So then you think that somebody dying professing the religion to be true, having seen like visions of the religion, you think that that provides zero evidence?
Well, one person. Yeah.
Sure. So why is it not that it provides like a little bit of evidence, but then if there's more, it provides like even additional evidence? You said
What do
that
you
it's
mean?
like literally zero. You said Chanticali dying, professing Hinduism and claiming Hindu visions. You think that's literally zero evidence?
Well, I know I thought you said if Hinduism is true. I thought that's what you said.
Yeah. Is that like any evidence at all for Hinduism being true?
Well, no, I don't. Well, I don't think he might have seen visions potentially, but they could have been demonic visions. That wouldn't have been like the true religion of Hinduism.
But couldn't have Peter, Paul, and James have seen the same?
Well, I would say no, because
Why not?
to go out to their death, to have an entire religion
What's the source
where
that
there's
says
2
that?
billion people.
What's the source that
I don't know,
says that
dude.
Peter and James died for this, professing the resurrection?
That Peter, or that who Paul died.
No. I grant Paul probably died for this. I don't care about Paul. But Peter and James died about this, or died for the resurrection.
I think it's Clement.
Clement
Yeah.
of Alexandria. The dude that lives like 100 years after.
Doesn't Tacitus live way later than Julius Caesar?
Yeah,
Okay, so you went with that.
but
So
sure. I mean, so Clement of Alexandria is also just a Christian.
yeah, but it doesn't matter if he's a Christian or not. It matters if it's true or not.
But I'm gonna give less weight to Christian historians who are living at that time, who just are themselves Christian, when it comes to claims about like, I don't know, the reliability of the Gospels. Obviously, he
then-
thinks they're reliable.
So why are you bringing the Hindu guy? If he was a Hindu before and he had Hindu dreams, wouldn't that be like baked into it?
Sure. Wait. Then you agree that we should be. Then
No,
you
I'm asking off
because I
your
don't
definition.
think Chanticali is evidence
Oh,
for
I thought-
Hinduism.
Oh, I thought you
But
were.
you would have to. It's a parody argument. If under your standard, I would have to be I would have to
Look, I
consider
think he
this
could
as
have
being
had.
evidence for
No,
Hinduism.
no, you were asking, yeah, if Hinduism, right, evidence for Hinduism being true, correct?
I don't think that that's evidence for Hinduism, by the way. That's the difference.
Yeah, no, and well, I would say that he might have seen visions, but sorry, my batteries went low. I wouldn't say that he could have had visions, but that doesn't mean that Hinduism is true. That's my point.
Well, okay, but wouldn't the disciples have died even if it was like demonic visions?
Well, what do you mean? If it was
If
demonic
if
visions?
instead what the disciples got were demonic visions, wouldn't they still possibly die?
But they weren't saying they were
Professing
visions.
the Yeah, neither was
But they weren't
Shanti.
just.
He just
Can
said
you
that he
give
saw
me
the
the
Hindu
this?
gods.
What Peter and Paul, what Peter is claiming, and the rest of the disciples, or James, whoever you want to say, is that they saw the risen Jesus walking around for 40 days, a physical Jesus. Now, is this Hindu guy saying he saw visions, or was he saying that he saw a physical, like Vishnu walking around? Like, I don't know. Like, I want to make sure we're doing the right comparison.
Sure, I can go through and read it. Uh, uh,
Which is kind of my
yeah,
issue
yeah,
with
he's
the.
claiming it's visions.
Okay. So the claim that Peter and Paul would make is that they saw the physical Jesus walking around. It wasn't like a
Mhm.
vision of Jesus like in the sky like this Hindu guy was talking about. So I think they're two completely different claims.
But why don't we have any like non-anonymous sources making this claim? The odds that Paul claims 500 people saw this. The odds that one of those people is literate is basically a guarantee. Like I've done the math on stream before.
Well, I would say a couple things. One, I think he says that some have fallen asleep. So I don't know if that meant 100 are dead or 50 are dead or 10 are dead. It doesn't really
But why wouldn't
matter.
they write it down in their lifetime?
Well, they could have. They could have. And it might have been lost. It could have been, I don't know. I don't know why we don't have one of those people have anything written down. But Paul Wood is not writing thinking like, okay, 2,000 years later, how is this going to read? He was just saying like, I'm making this extraordinary claim that I saw the risen Jesus, that he changed me. And if you don't believe me, there's these 500 people, of which some are dead, that you can go check with. And then for those people to be like, okay, well, we got to write this down so that 2,000 years people read it. Like, I don't know. I don't think that that would be like, it could be that something was written down and it got lost because these things can get lost. Or at the time, someone just went up and asked these people and they gave an answer and then that was it.
Sure, and we should have like zero record of any of it.
Well, we have Paul's record of it.
Okay, but Paul is an unreliable narrator. He also doesn't name them. So I mean, like let's
Well,
say
they
you're
don't.
living at that time.
Yeah,
How
but
could you
people.
possibly falsify this?
Yeah, but people don't say he's an unreliable narrator.
But he is. Like he contradicts himself constantly.
Well, to you, he might contradict himself. But again, not going back to scholars, they would still say that like Paul was writing about like real places and real things, and this isn't like just some everything that was written about was fiction. They
Well,
wouldn't believe a lot of the miracle stuff, but they would still say like he was writing about some things that were true.
I bet you would probably think that he's an unreliable narrator as well.
Well, I don't know. My point is that if you're asking about why the 500 witnesses didn't write stuff down, they could have, and it got thrown away or got lost. But I still think it's a different comparison saying, I saw a physical Jesus walking around for 40 days, and you have multiple people attesting to that fact, and another guy saying, I saw visions of Hindu gods. Those are two separate claims.
Hmm. But I mean, they were certainly willing to die for them. So I mean, I'm not sure why I wouldn't
Well,
assume that like one of them is like. I don't know why I wouldn't just say both of these are like hallucinations.
well, I would say to me, if someone is making a claim that beyond just a vision, but for 40 days we were doing all these things with him, you have multiple people attesting to that, and then going out and dying years
Who are
later,
the multiple people that attest to that?
the people that are writing the Gospels.
Who? Who are they?
We don't know their names, but they were
Then why would I
four
think that
separate
they're in a
people.
position to know? In order to evaluate the reliability of a source, you need to know who the authors are.
Well, we don't, but again, I'm not trying to like beat you over the head with this, but the historical consensus would not say that, oh, that we just throw out all the gospels now because we
I'm not
don't know
saying throughout
exactly
all
who
the
wrote them.
gospels. I'm saying that we should be very skeptical of this given the fact that we don't even know who's writing these.
Well, again, the consensus doesn't hold that opinion.
Okay. But why wouldn't I think that? Okay. So
That's
I'm looking
fair,
for like
but
the
then
symmetry breaker. Why wouldn't I just think that all these people hallucinated? Shanti Kali too.
well, the symmetry breaker again would be that these people went out for years and preached this quote unquote hallucination
Yep.
all
So
the way
did
to their death.
yeah. So did Shanti Kali. Yeah.
How long? Was it for a
Uh.
week? Was it for a year? Like, I'm curious. Like,
Yeah.
just out of
Sure.
curiosity.
But the pressure of his parents, Saint Santi Tripura, had to get married with a girl unknown to him, but only to let his wife to get remarried after 7 years of conjugal life. Though he has two daughters, but he was determined to live an ascetic life. So his wife put a precondition that before he takes ascetic life, he will have to let her get married and take the charge. I'm sorry, this is like horribly written, and take the charges of their daughter, which he readily agreed. After getting his wife remarried, he took ascetic life and went out for pilgrimage all over India. While in tour, he was told in dream by Tripura Sundari Mata to go back to Tripura and to establish an ashram and her temple. This dream motivated him to return to Tripura. After returning from pilgrimage, he devoted in establishing a missionary work and named it Shantikali Ashram, first established in 1979, so about 20
Can I
years.
just?
Yeah.
So this is here's what I said. So how long did Shanti Kelly say he saw the visions for? And then it's saying if you're referring to Swami Shanti Kali, the prominent Hindu spiritual leader
Yeah.
from Tipura, India, his defining spiritual experience was not a prolonged series of visions over weeks, months, but rather a single powerful dream.
Mhm.
Timeline. He spent 21 years fulfilling the mandate of the vision, building 28 operational branches. Okay, so
Yeah.
21 years. So, so yeah, that would be comparable then. So I would say that again, your question would be, so why would we not just believe Shanti Kali?
Yeah. Like
Because of the vision.
okay, I have no idea how you get to like a place where you think like Shanti Kali is like I understand that there might be like features that you think are more compelling about the Christian martyrs than Shanti Kali. I have no idea how you get to a place where you say that Shanti Kali is zero evidence for Hinduism.
Well, because I think Hinduism is false. That's my point.
Yeah.
Because if Jesus rose from the dead, and let's just grant that everything he said was true, then,
That Jesus said was true.
well, if he rose from, like, my belief is that Jesus rose from the dead, and so therefore he is the only God, right? And so if Hindu is claiming there is these other gods, I would say that that isn't true
Mhm.
because Jesus rose from the dead and
Yeah.
he's the authority on the topic.
But that's the
That-
thing that we're evaluating. Like that's the conclusion that we're evaluating the arguments for.
Well, I'm sorry, maybe I'm confused by your question. When you're saying, why does that make it that
So
Hinduism
in like
isn't
the
true?
in like the pre-accepting the conclusion, like when we're just weighing the evidence from like an agnostic standpoint, I don't know how we're going to weigh like if we weigh Shanti Kali as being like literally zero evidence, I don't know how we could possibly be weighing
Well, I think I
the
said,
Christians as anything other than like zero, if not like
well, I think I said
basically
this.
no evidence.
So this is what I think I said. I think I said he could have seen visions, but they would have been perhaps demonic visions, because I'm a Christian. I have a Christian worldview anchored in the resurrection of Jesus being the authority on whatever he says. So the Shanti Kali might have seen things that were visions, but I would say those were demonic visions, and they wouldn't have made Hinduism true and then all other world religions false. Am I answering your question the way you're asking it?
Well, okay, so I understand like that's the Christian explanation. Like from the Christian worldview, that's how you would explain it. But from my worldview, I'm not sure why I wouldn't just accept that all of these are hallucinations.
And I would say there is still a difference, and I would say a big difference if two witnesses versus one. I mean, that's even how they say, like, you can't even go to court unless you have at least, like, two witnesses sometimes. So two is a major step from one. And then even if you're going to grant, like, James, who had said it was strongly believed that he went to his death, that would be now three. And then as the number, and then if you can find, like if you would believe Paul, which I know you don't, but then you could find 4. And as these numbers grow, they come increasingly higher than just 1. That's probably how I would give a delineation between the two visions. It
Sure.
makes me nervous if one person says one thing. It's a much bigger difference if at least 2 people. Now I know that's not a big number, but I still think that would be a
Yeah,
like
that's
that's a
fine. You can,
difference.
yeah, you can say like more, that's more evidence, but I mean, definitely then like Shanti Kali would need to be at least some evidence.
Well, it's be one person.
Yes, but is that zero evidence? Like
Well,
literally zero?
okay, here, like I said, but I'm
Like I
confused by
agree
your
when you add
question.
more people, it's more evidence. I don't know how you could possibly say that one person claiming to see like a divine act, like
Well,
one
let me
person
answer.
doing this, well,
Maybe I'm
that's
confused.
zero
What?
evidence, but 2 people claiming to see a divine act, well, that's like really good evidence. Like,
Well, let me just say this. Like again, I am I answering your question correctly? I think Shanti Kali could have had a vision.
okay,
So I'm not taking away from the fact that maybe he saw something legitimate.
yeah, no, I
So what?
know, but
So what?
you're speaking
What's
that
your
from like a
question?
Christian worldview, from like a point of view that's like agnostically, impartially, without having accepted a worldview already, looking at the evidence. I have no idea how you could possibly, like, I don't know if I don't think Shanti Kali is any evidence. I have no idea why I would think that Peter is evidence.
Well, I think you would just look at these things separately. Because look, if Shanti
Why?
Kali is
It's the same
true,
standard.
well, I would just say if Shanti Kali is true, then that would mean that like the resurrection probably never happened. Correct? Because Hindus
Problem,
don't believe that.
or maybe it's like demonic, you know? Maybe it's like Hindu demons.
What do you mean?
Maybe it's like the evil trickster forces in Hinduism. They have tons of gods. I'm sure they have one of those. I'm sure they could explain this away.
Okay. Well, I would just look at them separately in a sense. And I would just say, like, look, if we were to find out that Shanti Kali's vision was actually true and he literally saw like Vishnu or something like that, well, then that would mean that, and if we could actually 100% prove that, then that would mean that I could look into the Christian claims of resurrection, but it wouldn't really matter because Jesus wouldn't have risen from the dead because the Vishnu God would have been true, who says that he's the true God and it's not Jesus.
Mhm. So, but
And
the
that,
problem is, I don't know which one to believe. And if you're telling me that
right.
this one is literally zero evidence, well, then I'm just going to say that yours must also be literally zero evidence.
Well, the only reason why I would say, if you're talking about if meaning that Hinduism is true, I would say yes, it doesn't provide the fact that Hinduism is true because I believe Christianity is true.
But is it your claim is stronger than just Hinduism is false? Your claim is that the Shanti Kali stuff is literally zero evidence for Hinduism. It's no evidence at all for
Well, I would
Hinduism,
say
is your claim.
I'd say there's no evidence anywhere that Hinduism is ultimately true.
Mhm. Yep. Then I would
Like
say
anybody could say
then I would
anything.
say people dying for the claims of Jesus under this standard also likewise can't be evidence that
Well,
Christianity
unless
is true.
unless he did rise from the dead, is my point.
Well, yeah, unless Shanti Kali did see Vishnu.
Correct.
Yeah.
If no, here's the thing. If Jesus rose from the dead, then that trumps everything else because then he would be the true God.
Yeah, and if
If he
Shanti
didn't rise from the dead, then the Shanti thing could be true.
Mhm. Yep, and if Shanti Kali did see these visions, if he did see Vishnu, then that trumps Jesus rising from the dead.
No, because Jesus would have said that there is no other God, that I'm the only other God. Like I
Mhm.
personally think maybe you don't, but I think that if Jesus did actually rise from the dead, then that would mean that he's God.
Oh, well,
Maybe you
yeah.
don't.
Well,
Maybe you
no.
don't
I,
think
I do
that.
agree with that, but it's
Okay,
just,
okay.
if the Shanti Kali stuff happened, then Jesus didn't rise from the dead, so that would take precedent over all of your evidence.
Well, but I think Jesus did rise from that is my point.
Yeah,
And so like I would
and I
just
don't know
start
why to believe that over Shanti Kali.
because, like I said, you have multiple witnesses, and
If
you have a lot of I would say other things as well.
so,
Like
if somehow I provided you like multiple like Hindu people claiming to see visions and like also being willing to be like martyred for it. Like, how many would I need to provide you?
Well, I would have to look at I'd have to look at all the like I would try to build a case, right, for like was Jesus real? Okay. Was he actually crucified? Was there an empty tomb or not? Like, did his followers believe they saw the risen Christ? Were these people like James and Peter, were they real historical people? Like, I'd want to know about all of that before I even considered a resurrection. And then once I those pass all the test, then I would weigh everything and say, yes, I believe that Jesus did rise. Now, if you did the same thing on the Hindu side, I'd want to know like who these people were that made these claims. Like what are all of the claims of Hinduism for me to even understand if these even make sense or not? Like I would try to just build it versus just there's a number of people that said that it was true. Well, like who were these people? Were they credible people? Were they known to be like tricksters? Like were they not like one of the reasons why I'm not Mormon is because like Joseph Smith's made some of these similar claims, but I think Joseph Smith has a bit of a shady past with some of the seer stones.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and that
Yeah,
I
his
think
like scam stones that
his
he also
scams,
used to
his scam
translate
stones.
the like
Correct.
the golden plates. Yeah.
Yeah, the gold plate. So I would say that he's not a reliable person. If someone were to say like, hey, you know what, Peter wasn't a very reliable person. He was known for telling these really tall tales. Like I would try to impugn the characters of the disciples. And if I could do that, then that would mean that it's much like they have much shakier ground for me to even believe them. Like it was written about James, the brother of Jesus, that he was skeptical about Jesus. Again, these are like what the historians would say is just historically true. That James was skeptical about Jesus, and then after the resurrection, he went on to believe. And so I think that is a more like believable thing than what like Joseph Smith has to offer. So I would want to know like, okay, these guys are claiming like they saw these Hindu visions. Like, are they credible people? Are they upstanding citizens? Like, what's their background? What's their past? Are they a bunch of like Joseph Smiths? Or are they like real legitimate people? You know what I mean? And then I would like go through it that way, the same way that I would try to look at the character of the people who claim they saw the resurrected Jesus. And then I'd weigh it all, and then I would come to a decision. And that's why I believe that Jesus rose from the dead, amongst other reasons as well. And like, that's how I would just do all of this. So I would try to do an analysis first before just saying, well, 3 people believed it, and so therefore I'm going to like swallow it whole.
Yeah. But I mean, I can easily impugn the character of Paul. He contradicts himself like literally constantly. Also, there's like a scorpion on the road to Damascus that causes hallucinations with its scorpion venom, which, additionally is the story that he contradicts himself on over and over again. So great reason to throw Paul all the way into the trash can.
Well, this is what I would do, dude. If you at least do that and you come to the understanding that these characters aren't credible, like I can't ask you to do anything more than that. Like I'm trying to be fair, and if you've come to that decision, then that's what you've come to. But
so
look into that.
Well, here's my understanding of things is that okay, if Peter, like we don't know what any of the disciples died for other than like maybe Paul, and I don't care about Paul. I think Paul is full of shit. I don't have any reason.
You believe he was real though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not like a mythicist or anything like that. Okay. But so, we have Paul, but we don't know what any of the people died for. Like, we don't have any evidence that Peter died professing the resurrection, that he died, like, that there was somebody who was like, I'm going to kill you unless you say that the resurrection didn't happen, like there is with Shanti Catley. We don't have a thing like for James, where James is told, I'm going to kill you unless you say that the resurrection didn't happen, and then he doesn't. That's a unique piece of evidence that Shanti Catley has. Presumably, these Peter and James could just lie, or they could, have visions that they're mistaken about. But Shanti Catley certainly seems to believe it, and was given an opportunity to disregard it, and chose not to. So why would I think that Peter and James died given like some opportunity to abandon their belief?
Well, yeah. I mean, isn't it Clement that says that, or you don't believe Clement?
I don't know. Like, what's Clement's evidence? How does this guy know? That's what it comes back to, is like chains of like, okay, where's this guy getting his information from?
Yeah, it's saying First Clement, written around 95 AD. It's saying, let us
95
set-
AD? That can't be.
yeah, when historians talk about Clement for the martyrdom of Peter, they're referring to a letter called First Clement, written around 95 AD. And
I
it's
must be
saying,
on the wrong Wikipedia page then, because this guy was born in like 150.
okay,
We're not talking about like
well,
Clement of Alexandria, are
well,
we?
I'm saying a letter called First Clement.
Okay, I think I've located it. Yeah.
So he's saying, Clement writes to the church in Corinth, let us set before our eyes Peter, though unrighteous envy, endured not one or two but numerous labors, and when at length suffered martyrdom, departed to the place of glory due to him. And then it says, immediately in the next verse, he pairs Peter with Paul. By reason of jealousy and strife, Paul, by his example, pointed to the prize of patience, and after suffering martyrdom under the prefects, he departed from the world and went to the holy place. So it looks like in 95, First Clement is saying that Peter suffered martyrdom, and then it's saying Paul suffered martyrdom under prefects. So martyrdom is going to be just that they're dying for their religious belief.
So I think like the thing that stands out most to me about this letter is that it was literally written by the fucking Pope. Like this, if ever there's a person who has like a personal stake in the issue, it's this guy. Like, I don't know. I mean, what other statement would you expect the literal Pope to be making? It's weird
Okay.
that there isn't like a source for this happening that isn't like the Pope of the time.
I'm just asking if the Pope writing it makes it suspicious, because the thing is with these Gospels, it doesn't, like, to me with some of this stuff, like, I get what you're saying. Like, honestly, I get what you're saying. But, like, honestly, if it's true, then, like, someone would become a Christian and write this. You know what I mean? So, like, that's the question. Is it true? And did he write it because it happened and convert to Christianity because Jesus did rise from the dead and that's true? Or did he just, like, believe it falsely and then force it in there? And that's the
So
question that anybody has to ask, and it's a fair question, but, like, let's just keep digging and figuring this
oh
out.
yeah, no. So no, he was already Christian before the martyrdom because he's the Pope that immediately follows Peter. So he was a Christian, then Peter gets martyred, and then he writes the letter.
Okay. Well, it's a fair question to ask from a strict sense, from a secular perspective. The answer is actually no. It makes the evidence much stronger, not weaker. When modern historians analyze ancient letters, they don't treat them like modern religious press releases. They look at them as raw first century data. There are three major historical reasons why Clement wrote the letter. From a position of church leadership, makes it evidence highly reliable rather than suspicious. I mean, that's what I'm putting into the AI. So, I mean, I just put, does the Pope writing it make it suspicious? And that's the answer that it's giving me.
Well, so I think it's a question of like, what would we expect? Which sources would we expect to be writing this if it happened versus which sources would we expect to be writing it if it didn't happen. If it didn't happen, I would expect to see the only sources that are making this claim to be the Christian ones. But if it did happen, I would expect both Christian and secular historians would be claiming this. This is just exactly what I would expect if it didn't happen. I don't know. It's surprising.
Yeah, and then I put in, is there any independent attestation? It says historical analysis fact. In historical analysis, a fact is considered secure if it has multiple independent attestations. And then it kind of goes into, we don't just have letters, we have physical concrete structures. In late 20th century, archaeologists excavated deep beneath under St. Peter's Basilica of Rome down into the first century pagan, a Christian cemetery. The Gospel of John. Let's see, or sorry. Yeah, I mean, I could go through enemy attestation, but I think the point is, yes, like what you're saying makes sense, that of course these just Christians would make this thing up unless, yeah, it was true. And they became Christians because it's true. And that's why
But
like
they
2
didn't.
billion people are Christians in this planet. Not all of them, but like a lot of them, because
Clement didn't.
it's true. What
Clement
do you
was
mean?
already Christian.
Well, yeah, he was a Christian, and then he wrote a fact that Peter was martyred. It wouldn't have been
Yeah.
after the fact. It would have been like at the time. So he becomes a Christian, and then Peter gets martyred, and Paul gets martyred. Then he writes it down.
Yes. Yeah. But this is what we would like. Why isn't there like a secular source making the same claim?
Well, the question, I don't know the answer. Again, I can try to look it up, but like, how big was Christianity at that time? Or is it like Peter and Paul were just like random dopes, like going around talking about this weird religion that like nobody cared about? I mean, Christianity was probably like it's in its infant most stage. So for non-Christians at the time to write about some random religious nut that like did this stuff, like, would that be in the most credible historians, like, annals? Like,
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't
because
know.
isn't James literally mentioned in Josephus?
As the brother
Yeah.
of yeah, he is mentioned.
So I'm not sure why there wouldn't be like a mention of like a
Well,
like
James,
Peter, the
well, that
first.
Peter was martyred, or just that
Yeah.
Peter existed.
Well, that he was martyred. Because
I don't.
presumably, if he's like the first pope, he has like tons of followers.
I don't know how many he would have had. Would it have been 1,000? Would it have been 10,000? Like, I don't know how fast within the first 50 years of Christianity it spread. I don't know if it was 10,000 or if it was, 500. Like, I don't know. But yeah, Tacitus does. I have read that where Tacitus does mention James as the brother of Jesus. But that's kind of, again, gives a little bit of credibility to those Gospels, because the Gospels are writing about James, and then Tacitus writes about James. So it's like another person.
Wait, okay. I'm looking at the first epistle. It doesn't even say that Peter was martyred for the resurrection.
No, it just says he was martyred.
Yeah, but why would I think that it was for the resurrection?
Well, that's the message that was being brought. Like, if you read First and Second Peter, we don't necessarily think Peter wrote that, but the idea would be that like the whole, like, you can read in the New Testament, like the letters are about Jesus being the Savior and like anchoring it to the resurrection. So they were going out and preaching that gospel, and then those letters were being read in the churches because like this whole thing was anchored in the resurrection.
Wait, sorry,
And then,
which one? What's the evidence that Peter went out and did that? Which,
well, Peter in Acts is going around obviously talking about the risen Christ
yeah,
and for
but
the
Acts is
forgiveness
full of
of sins.
contradictions.
Well, My understanding is that there's a lot of history in Acts. Like, you don't think that the missionary work was happening then for like the
Maybe.
resurrected Christ? Like, how would it have gotten if there was if nobody was talking about the resurrected Christ? How are we like how can we look through the centuries and see that like the whole Jesus resurrected narrative is like a big part of art and
Well, I mean, obviously it is,
leaders
but
and
like Acts is an unreliable book. You know, it's full. It's literally just full of contradictions, like the one I cited earlier.
well, are you questioning if Peter went around? Well, then what would Clement mean by the martyrdom of
He
Peter?
very well might have been martyred for being Christian. I just don't know that Christian doctrine included the resurrection at this point.
You think the resurrection narrative happened later? Like when?
I don't know. Could have been later. I'm agnostic to this. This would be your burden.
Well, read the letters. Read the letters of like First and Second Peter, First, Second, Third John. I mean, Paul's letters. I mean, these are about the risen Christ and that he came to bring salvation because of the forgiveness of sins because of his work on the cross. I mean, those were written like shortly after Jesus's life.
But why would I think that Peter is one of the people that believes this?
Well, didn't I thought we went over this? That did you?
Because what you said it was
Did,
Acts, and I have good reason to think that Acts is false.
didn't we look up earlier that it's confident that Peter believed that he saw the risen Christ? And didn't you grant that?
Um, sure. Okay. So the question is whether or not they killed Peter and they like gave him an opportunity to, I don't know, like abandon it all, or whether he was going to be subject to this regardless. So why would I think that he was given like the opportunity to repent in the same way that Shanti Kali was?
Well, I would say with Clement, it's saying that he was martyred.
Sure. But why would I? Okay. But surely it's better evidence for Shanti Kali because Shanti Kali was given the option to say, no, it's not true.
Well,
But
the
why would I think Peter was given that option? Like maybe they just tortured Peter.
and not killed him. You're saying,
No, like they just subject him to like the harsh treatment.
but if Clement is saying that he was martyred and then it said like went to glory, then that would be somebody stating it.
Did the Romans give him, or like I assume it's the Romans, but did the Romans give him an opportunity to repent and like say never mind?
Well, we don't know exactly how it went down, but
Sure.
martyrdom would mean
Then that's a unique piece of evidence
di-
for Shanti Kali that no Christian martyr has. Because Shanti Kali was given the option to repent and didn't take it.
well, we don't we know from Clement, or at least from what Clement says, that Peter was martyred
Yeah.
for his faith. And what would martyr mean to you?
Yeah, just like killed for the beliefs.
Right.
You know, you could be martyred even if you're killed for the beliefs, even if like halfway through you're like, wait, never mind, I don't believe in this anymore. They could still kill you and you would still be a martyr.
Well, I mean, if you want to take that, I mean, we don't have a video camera of him saying that like we do with Shanti Kelly, but that's what like these historians will do. Like they'll go look with as much information as they can and come to the best evidence. I mean, look, nobody was like had a camera on O.J. Simpson doing what he did, but like, we can pretty much deduce what happened.
Hmm.
And like the same thing, like we've got a lot of stuff pointing to this thing. I mean, you can keep questioning it. That's fine. I think being skeptical in a sense is good, but like a lot of these, I think a lot of people are going to just, as they do all historical work, feel pretty confident that this is what happened.
Hmm.
And there's going to be
Sure.
some, and there you might uncover something that nobody thought of, but right now it's kind of like, yeah, this seems to be what happened.
Yeah, sure. But I mean, you know, what so what would make me think that they weren't just like lying?
Well, because another part and again, you can, look this up if you want, is his
Yeah.
disciples went from being afraid when he died to then emboldened
Hmm.
afterwards.
Yep.
And so again, they'd have to like huddle up and like lie about it. And then the question would be, I mean, what's the likelihood of that? And then the second likelihood would be like, okay, so then if they lied about it, then they would have had to like steal the body. And how would they accomplish
Well,
that?
maybe just got thrown into like a body pit, and then they just lie.
Well, there's a
I
couple
mean,
things with that.
Shanti Kali has like a unique thing that none of them have, which is the option to recant and not taking that option. Not one single one of the disciples were given the option to
Well, we
recant their
don't
testimony.
well, we don't know if they
Yes,
weren't.
exactly, right. Which is why we know that there is this unique piece of evidence that only Shanti Kali has.
Well, if you're going to like nail this whole thing down on a recant that
Yeah.
versus it being written that Peter was martyred, I would just ask other people if that's like a good stance to have. It might
Well,
be, but I
well,
would just
wait.
ask
So
other people.
yeah, I mean, like let me make the case for it, right? You know, whether or not the disciples were lying about this, um, we wouldn't know based on the way that they died because they were never given the opportunity to give up the things that they were professing in exchange for their lives.
Well, we
You know,
don't
it
know
could be like a
that.
Joseph Smith situation. Yeah, exactly. But from the evidence that we have no reason to think that. Whereas, you know, that would make Shanti Kali have a unique feature to it, you know, because he dies and he's given the opportunity to convert to Christianity. The Christians are holding him at gunpoint, and he says, "No, I know what I saw. I know Hinduism is true. I'm going to die for it." It at the very least seems like guaranteed that Shanti Kali truly believes it.
Yeah, I believe he believed it. I'm not necessarily saying he didn't believe it.
Mhm.
Like, I think he may, like I've said a bunch of times, like he could have had those visions, and he could have literally went to his death thinking that those visions were truly seeing whatever he saw.
Yeah. Well, hey, I hate to cut it off so abruptly, but this has been like 2 fucking hours of the God debate, and it's literally not even the topic. So I'm moving on. Make sure you're double tapping on that screen, sharing it with your friends, doing all that good stuff. Um, Pedro, thanks so much for the $100 super chat on Venmo. I appreciate it. Um, Thanks so much for all the work at the book club. It was really obvious that you'd prepared a ton. Um, and I'm really excited to learn more about virtue ethics. Yeah, it was great to see you there. It was so much. It was so much fun. I don't know, like I really appreciated it. I don't know, it was so great to see everyone at the book club. I'm excited to teach everyone more about virtue ethics. I have lots and lots of thoughts about it, frankly. I love virtue ethics. Punctuated equilibrium. Thanks so much for the super chat. Cheers, Ian. And here's to a good stream. Do you have any thoughts on pragmatic moral realism given your virtue ethics? I don't know what pragmatic moral realism is, but no, I don't think that you should be believing things because they're pragmatic. I think you should be believing things because they're true. Rod Blow, thanks so much for the super chat. If humanity didn't aim its desires and intentions for an afterlife, evolution could grant the longevity and potential that inspires us right here. Dank Bird Game, thanks so much for the super chat. Happy Pride to you. Nick Judo Obedience, thanks so much for the super chat. A good case similar to the Hindu martyr you should look into is the Mormon eyewitnesses. It has more people testifying the same thing. Oh, wait, you should tell me more about this. I'd be curious. Bethos, thanks so much for the super chat. If there would be a consensus that the Gospels would be reliable, it would be taught as history in school. What does the Craig Collar smoke? I think that could be true. Joe White, thanks so much for the super chat. Neither 13th Amendment, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as punishment of crime, whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. No, I'm aware of that, but that's why I was saying, like, okay, they might be considered slaves in the United States, but they shouldn't be. That's horrible. This is like famously unjust. The fact that you could be like a slave in the United States in the prison system. That's crazy. I'm the Big Cheese. Thanks so much for the super chat. The percent of the 8 billion world population that accept the claim of the resurrection and claims of Jesus being literally 100% God is less than the 30% population. Aaron, thanks so much for the super chat. How do you even debate the last POS FF homophobic IQ guy? I can't even get through the video. You're really something, aren't you? Oh, well, you're really quite nothing. God, I love Danny. Spaghetti, thanks so much for the super chat. I haven't seen an L as bad as this since Dave Rubin just days ago. Yeah, that was brutal. I don't know why the fuck Dave Rubin would have ever accepted that debate. That was like humiliating. Bethos, thanks so much for the super chat. Are you gay? As if that would be important. Ginger Drums, thanks so much for the super chat. Craig's psychology is reminiscent of Homelander. Maybe. Josiah, thanks so much for the super chat. Pre-cope and preparing to leave. Unstoppable combo. Yeah, my goat. My goat. Bethos, thanks so much for the super chat. Anonymous authors decades later claiming a handful of folks. Oh, also great to see you, Josiah, as always. Anonymous authors decades later claiming a handful of folks saw someone that would not hold in court. Shouldn't God arguments be at least court proof? Maybe. They should be at least as good as like historical arguments, I think. Christopher Sanford, thanks so much for the super chat. Yes, but Ian, have you considered the fact that if it was actually true, then that would make it true? Brilliant. Helping Maga deconstruct, thanks so much for the super chat. Eating glass is more enjoyable than listening to the uneducated and dishonest interlocutor named Craig. Rock hard for Doug, sinfully wet for Sharon. Appreciate it. Allegedly Ian, okay, yeah, sorry, that's me. Thanks so much for the Twitch resubs. Chazbones, Finda Gamer, and Imonas, thanks so much. Appreciate you. Okay. Hey, how's it going?
Hello.
Yep. How old are you?
18,
Yep. What year were you born?
2006.
Sorry, I don't think the math works out on that. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, what's up, Ian?
Yeah, how you doing? How old are you?
I'm good. I'm 34. How are you?
Doing well. Yeah, do you think there's something wrong with being gay?
Well, I don't actually think there's something wrong with being gay. I think that I don't know. I think people these days have, like, just the logic's not there. And I think people in that, like, group are entirely uneducated. Like, for example, so I'm from Nashville, right? And like 3 months ago, for the start of the war in the Middle East, for like 3 days straight, like the Pride people were out there for like 4 or 5 days protesting, like, free Iran, leave Iran alone. And it's just like, I don't think that these people understand that if you were gay in Iran, you would be sent off of a building.
Yeah,
Like,
maybe the thing that they're protesting is like the fact that, maybe they just weren't enthusiastic for American soldiers to die so that like Benjamin Netanyahu can invade Lebanon. Like, maybe it had something to do with that. I don't think that, I also think that you can be like anti the blowing up of like civilian infrastructure and also think that these people have like bad regressive beliefs.
no, I get it, but it was just the way that I took it, like, because I had to drive by there or through there one day, unfortunately, going to work. But like just the signs that they were holding up to me made it seem like they were protesting the war, with Iran, and it's just like,
Yeah.
that group is not even close to being welcome over there. I mean, they would literally
Who
throw you off
cares?
of the bridge.
Why would the fact that they would literally throw you off the bridge mean that gay people have to be okay with like tax dollars going to fund the war?
But why would they be okay to defend against that? Against
Because
the
they don't want
country
they don't want their tax dollars going there.
Ian, for decades, our tax dollars have funded foreign wars.
And that's bad. They shouldn't. That's
No,
what's
absolutely.
being protested. So you agree with the protesters?
No, I agree. Okay, if they were protesting in the sense that you give, yes, I do agree. I'm saying from the perspective that I got from the signs that they were holding up, it's just they're protesting the wrong stuff.
What are they protesting?
Like, what are they protesting?
Yeah, like what did the signs say?
Like, free Iran, leave Iran alone, peace, all this stuff.
Free Iran. One sec. Okay, so I see and I'm looking at these protests signs. So I got hands off Iran, no new war in the Middle East. Um, I think that's all fine. The last thing we need is war. Yeah. Make love, not war. Cool. Yep. True. Yeah, I see hands off Iran. I'm not seeing any free Iran.
Okay, maybe it was hands off of Iran or something. It was something to do with Iran.
Well, yeah, I mean, we shouldn't be getting involved with like, you know, I'm not enthusiastic to have like U.S. troops dying for like an Israeli war, frankly.
Yeah, no, I definitely I understand, completely. I just like I said, like people being gay, there's nothing wrong with being gay.
Mhm,
No, it just didn't sit well with me that
mhm.
we have people in that group that are just want to leave that evil country alone. And I don't think that evil country should be left alone. I think they're very evil there.
Well, oh gosh, this is gonna this one might be a bit hard to accept, but we actually had like a really good agreement with them. It was called the JCPOA. It was negotiated by Obama, and it made it so that we could actually go in. We could go in anytime we wanted and check to see whether or not they were enriching uranium. Like we could go into their facilities and we verified that they were not enriching uranium. And then Trump came in and he like tore it in half. And now he's going to negotiate. And I just want to be like so clear about this. Um, after 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 we're forced to like fucking like lick their boots when the treaty comes out, Iran will have never been stronger in the past like 30 years. The fact that they're going to have unmitigated control over the Strait of Hormuz, like economic control, is an insane bolstering of the Iranian regime. Like going to war against Iran in the long term has made them nothing but stronger, and it has made us nothing but weaker because now it looks like we lost the fucking war.
I mean, I don't really think we've lost the war. I think we've definitely suffered some. Basically, I don't think we were as good as we thought we were. I will give them that.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. Like I said,
Isn't it like catastrophic that Iran, like the sanctions are going to get lifted off of Iran and also they're going to have the control over the Strait of Hormuz? Isn't that like crazy?
well, I thought I read today that so they were thinking about lifting sanctions if there was a deal, but I don't think anyone is going to have control of the strait. If I read right.
Well, there's a standstill. Iran's not letting go of the strait. Let's be very clear about that. There's no
Yeah.
fucking they're not giving that up because
Yeah.
and this is something that they didn't have before the war, by the way. This is something that's new because of the war. They realized by launching the war, they realized that they could do it, that they could take over control of the Strait of Hormuz and stop traffic. This is new. This didn't used to be this way. Going forward, they are going to keep it. So they're charging boats like $1 million fee, and it's at a standstill because that's crazy. It's frankly fucking insane that we would launch a war that makes them so strong. Like it's unbelievable. Like is that unbelievable to you that we would launch such a foolish war?
I mean, I don't think it was foolish to launch the war. I think if everything had gone to plan and it was over as soon as Trump says that it was going to be over, I think we would have been a little better off. I mean, I'm not necessarily happy that we're now 3 months into the war.
Mhm.
And one thing, and like I know this is not really about politics, this live, but like, I do like Trump and a lot of his policies, but one thing that I can disagree with him on is this war. I would rather him either get a deal done in the next few days or either go in and finish the job. I mean, because me personally, I'm tired of spending almost $4 a gallon.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know. So I think either he should, finish the job or get a deal. But
yeah. Listen,
anyway, like I said, I only came up here just because,
yeah.
I don't know.
That's fine.
I guess-
But before you go, I would love to make like an additional point here, which is that there was a group of people that was qualified. They had an entire career's worth of experience to tell the president what would have happened. It's the people that got sacked in the intelligence community by Doge. It's the people in the State Department that got sacked by Doge. Doge came in and they made a big performance of like cutting stuff off, and in doing so, we lost like invaluable experience. And if we had that experience, the war probably would have gone a lot better.
Yeah, no, I can definitely agree with that. For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
I have a question for you though.
Yeah, go for it.
So, do you think that okay, where do you stand on the aspect of Iran or Iran?
I'm anti. I think we should keep on like sanctioning them. I think we should sanction the fuck out of them. I really liked the I don't know, I was a fan of the JCPOA.
Yeah.
You know, that was when they were like complying with it. And my understanding is that we weren't sanctioning them while they were complying with that. But at this point, we've arrived at like the worst of all worlds where they're not sanctioned, and after a couple of years, they can proliferate.
Yeah.
But I think one of the other, either I think maybe ideally you have something like the JCPOA where they are agreeing to not proliferate, and then we can go in and inspect. And then I think their culture is horrible. You know, I think that's all bad. But the alternative is that I think sanctioning the fuck out of them is fine.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why I came up here was, I don't know, maybe I just misinterpreted the protest signs. That was just kind of what I had gathered from it. But I guess you made a great point, because now I think I understand a little bit more.
Yeah.
Maybe they were protesting, us in an endless war, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Like it's isn't it weird that, I don't know. I hope by the time the next person comes in, if it's like a Democrat, I hope what doesn't happen is something like Afghanistan, where, we're in like some endless war, and then like foolish Joe Biden tries to pull us out of it and then gets blamed for the pullout, even though, at least he pulled out of it at all.
Yeah.
I hope it's not something like that happens in Iran, where we're still at war with them, and then the Democrat has to come in and take like a huge loss by pulling out.
I agree.
Yep.
Well, that's all I got. So
yeah, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. That dude was chill. All right, make sure you're double tapping on that screen, sharing it with your friends, doing all that good stuff. Mary Andrew, thanks so much for the super chat. Nashville not sending their best. Yeah, that's true. But yeah. Professional, thanks so much for the super chat. Saying that we shot ourselves in the foot by going to war with Iran is an understatement. It's more like we've blown both of our legs off. I agree with this. I think one of the biggest lessons to take away from this administration is that expertise matters. Knowledge of like geopolitics matters. Knowledge of like health science matters. Expertise matters. It's good to have experts in positions of power. It's bad to have like reality TV stars or, fucking like bloggers, or I don't know, dude, like I don't know how the fuck they find some of these people. It's bad to have those people in positions of power. You do not want RFK Jr. making your health decisions. You don't want Kash Patel making your like fucking like FBI decisions. Like, expertise matters. A big knowledge base matters. All of these things matter, and we're seeing that. We're seeing the effects of that right now. The fact that we got so utterly fisted by Iran, in terms of like the treaty that we're going to be forced to accept, is a testament to that. It didn't need to go like this. Even if you're intent on invading Iran, it didn't need to go like this. It went like this because the people in charge were incompetent, grossly incompetent. They had no fucking idea what they were doing. They didn't plan it out. And now we're going to be left with the result of it. There's no one doing this. It's unbelievable. It's an unbelievable set of circumstances. You should be furious about it, frankly. I'm like, I think what happened, I think Trump thought that we were living in like the time of the Iraq war, where you can just go in there and fucking like, fuck yeah, America #1, like steamroll them all the way to the Capitol in like 3 days. I think what people don't understand is that we now live in a time of like the asymmetric drone warfare. You know, unfortunately, the $20 Temu drone, we don't have, there is a the $20 Temu drone that you've strapped like the IED to is the current meta. You know, you send that motherfucker out at like an oil tanker, it's done. It's over. You know, so with just like, I don't know, like $100, you've managed to like stop the flow of the economy. Like, we just don't live in the time where you can just go in and do like fucking Operation Desert Storm anymore. We live in a totally different landscape where we now have to spend like millions of dollars to shoot down every single like Temu drone. Like, yeah, it's, I don't know, it's just a totally different landscape, frankly. All right. Downing an F-22? No, it's not like, no memes like that. Like downing like an F-22 with like a team, that's obviously not happening, but like the oil tankers are getting stopped by the Temu drone. Like the oil tankers that go, that's the threat in the Strait of Hormuz right now, is like, they're gonna, yeah. All right. But anyway, whoa, I have nobody. There was just a person who was requesting to join, but also it's like so close to the end of stream. I don't know. Do we have like the newest video lined up ready to go? Whoa. Wait, Ukraine is downing Apaches with Temu's drones? I actually didn't know that. That's like, fuck it. That's actually pretty cool. But you know, it's what's the one song in like The Watchmen, you know, times are a changing. It's, you know, it's just a totally different landscape. Get with the program. Okay, I'm dropping my newest video. I'm so grateful we just got an editor, so I'm glad because I get to spend more time reading up on arguments and less time on editing, which is great. That's what I want. So, oh wait, let me go in and. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. The newest video has been made public. Go check it out. It's titled Christian Fumbles, 10 Bible Facts and Flees the Debate. My goat.
Do you believe in the primordial soup?
I don't know what that's asking.
That life emerged from a primordial soup?
What's a primordial soup?
Well, it's like a little soup that the creature crawled out of, you know, that.
Oh, yeah, the primordial soup. It's like a little soup. Yeah, God. I have no idea what you're talking about. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing well. How old are you? That dude's like my real deal goat. Okay. Yeah, go check it out. Other than that, I love all of you. Have a great day. I'll see you all tomorrow. I'm figuring out some scheduling stuff with my girlfriend, so I may or may not be streaming this Friday. We'll see if I'm in New York. But anyway, it's in my YouTube, it's in my link tree. I love all of you. I'll see you all later.